So we are already well and truly into the topic of SQL. We've already looked at DDL commands and DML commands, some of them, a specific category of DML commands. Starting from today's lecture, we will look at DML commands used for the purpose of data retrieval, fetching data, all right? Until now, the DML commands that we've looked at, insert, delete, update, all of them manipulate data in the sense that they will change the base tables, the tables that contain the data, the very data that's there in the table. We can change the data using those commands. From here on out, we'll look at commands that are used in order to just simply fetch the data out of the table. The data will not be touched, in the sense that the data will not be changed in any way. We are simply asking to view the data, just to view, that's all, right? Just to retrieve the data. Okay, so first we'll look at a couple of the aggregate functions that we have in SQL. So for example, the AVG aggregate function, short for average. So let's say if we had to calculate the average standard price for all the products. I'm talking about the PVFC database here. Remember the PVFC database, Pine Valley Furniture Company database, where we had the products, the customers, the items, sorry, not the items, the um, order, the order line, and those tables. So there, we want to calculate the average standard price for all products. So for calculating the average standard price, we have to use the aggregate function AVG and apply it on product standard price. Remember what product standard price was. This was an attribute of the product table. Now, if we take a look at the product table, you will see. Right. So this is our product table, right? And we've got the product standard price here. If we take a look at everything that's there to see in the product table, right here, product. Yeah, product standard price, the last column, all the prices, all right? So we want to calculate the average product standard price, as simple as that. So what we do is, instead of writing select all, we don't want all the columns and all the values. Instead of writing select all, we just go with select AVG, and as a parameter, we pass product standard price. So this AVG aggregate function will be applied on all the product standard price values of all the rows in the product table. All right? So this is what will be calculated. And that's this part. So basically what we're doing here, so first of all, is the query tool, whatever I'm writing in the query tool, is this visible, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. Okay. All right. So here, this is the part where we specify that we want to see everything. Select all. The asterisk represents all, right? So instead of this, if we were to use the AVG function, and there we pass, what was it? Product standard price, right? So if we were to do this, that's what it is. Yeah. So there you go. Just simply, instead of showing everything, we just see the average value calculated. Average value calculated from the average of all the product standard price values. All right. And look at the column heading. Take a look at the column heading. What's the column heading? Simply what we looked for, what we were asking for. That is the column heading. However, if we were to display this as a result, it doesn't really look nice, right? So if we were to organize it in a better manner, we could use something that we call an alias, all right? Alias data camera bully, AJ, as this SQL keyword. And we know this is an SQL keyword because it's in all caps, all right? Once again, SQL is not case sensitive. Instead of writing it in all caps, if you were to write it in all lowercase or mixed case, it doesn't matter. SQL does not care. However, there are conventions so that we should follow. So we will follow those conventions. আর আমরা keyword গুলোকে all caps এ রাখবো. Anyway, so as is an SQL keyword, we call this an alias, and what as will do is whatever you put right after as, this will be the name of the column head. That is this result, the result of this, whatever we are fetching, that will be displayed under this name. Okay, let's say for example if we were to execute it, this changes to whatever gibberish I wrote there, right? So I could just as easily write something that actually makes sense to someone. Let's say average underscore price, let's say. Yeah, okay, there you go. So right, pretty simple and straightforward stuff. Now here, this AVG function is applied on all the standard prices available from all the rows. That is AJ product table এর 8টা রোতে যতগুলো প্রোডাক্ট স্ট্যান্ডার্ড প্রাইস আছে সবগুলো থেকে আমি ভ্যালুটা নিয়ে এই অ্যাভারেজটা ক্যালকুলেট করছি. What if I wanted to do that only for selective rows, not for all of them? So here, when I apply this function, it's applied on the product standard price I get for all the rows. সবগুলো রোয়ের উপরে সবগুলো রোতে যতগুলো ভ্যালু আছে সবগুলো কম্বাইন করে আমি অ্যাভারেজটা ক্যালকুলেট করছি. What if I wanted to do this for selective rows, not all of them?
Select the where keyword.
That's right. We would need to use the where keyword. Where keyword use করে কিন্তু আমরা রো সিলেক্ট করি. ঠিক আছে? Remember once again, সিলেক্টের সাথে আমরা যা রাখবো ওটা দিয়ে আমরা কলামস সিলেক্ট করব. Select all. Selects all columns. Select AVG on product standard price and product standard price only. Fixates the whole thing only on product standard price column. And then the aggregate function on top of that just brings it into a single value. But if we want to select specific rows, row যদি select করতে চাই তখন কিন্তু আমাদেরকে where clause use করতে হবে. Let's say for example, select the average price for let's say all products finished in natural ash or let's say cherry. Okay, so in that case what would we have to do? We would have to insert a where clause here, like one of you guys suggested. That's right, where clause. So where clause again, let's say I will say product finish. That's how it was written, right? Product finish এ আমরা দিচ্ছি ন্যাচারাল অ্যাশ, শুধুমাত্র ন্যাচারাল অ্যাশের জন্য আমরা দেখতে চাচ্ছি right, just for natural ash. This is the value for natural ash. Or let's say we want to see this only.
Hello, ma'am. Internet চলে গেছে, I guess.
Right, so I didn't have connection for a while there, did I?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, right. So I was talking to myself basically. Okay, never mind, that's fine. Let's just, okay. So what we were talking about, let's say we want to calculate the average price of all products that were finished in natural ash, just the ones that were finished in natural ash, just natural ash, that's all, nothing else. So let's say in that case, we would change the alias, let's say, just to make more sense out of it, average price of natural ash finish, let's say. Okay, and here, most importantly, here you would have to include a where clause, and there we'd have to insert this condition where product finish is equal to natural ash. Yeah, that condition, এই যে where clause এর যে conditionটা, এটা insert করতে হবে for selective rows. So if we were to execute this, there you go. The value changes, and this is our average price. Yeah.
ম্যাম যদি মাল্টিপল
So what's
রো সিলেক্ট
happening
করতে
here
চাই,
is multiple row. হ্যাঁ, তাও
যদি
select
চাই যে
করতে পারবো।
ন্যাচারাল অ্যাশ এন্ড চেরি একসাথে করব, তাইলে সেই ক্ষেত্রে
হ্যাঁ,
হয়
তাও
ক্লাসে
করা যায়।
কিভাবে লিখব?
ন্যাচারাল অ্যাশের ক্ষেত্রে তো মাল্টিপল রো সিলেক্ট হচ্ছে।
ন্যাচারাল
ন্যাচারাল
অ্যাশ
অ্যাশ,
এন্ড অ্যাজ ওয়েল অ্যাজ চেরি দুইটাই সিলেক্ট করতে
হ্যাঁ,
চাচ্ছি।
we'll get to that. But ন্যাচারাল অ্যাশের জন্য কোন কোন রো সিলেক্ট করা হচ্ছে আমাকে একটু বলো তো।
যতগুলোতে ন্যাচারাল অ্যাশ আছে, প্রোডাক্ট আইডি 2, 3 এন্ড 7।
That's right. So product ID 2, 3 and 7 এই তিনোটার প্রোডাক্ট স্ট্যান্ডার্ড প্রাইস 200, 375 and 800 থেকে আমাদের অ্যাভারেজ প্রাইসটা ক্যালকুলেট করা হচ্ছে। অলরাইট, আর যদি আমরা শুধুমাত্র চেরির ক্ষেত্রে যাই তখন আমরা কি করব? প্রোডাক্ট ফিনিশের জায়গায় চেঞ্জটা আনবো, রাইট?
ইয়েস ম্যাম।
So what we'll do is এখানে average price এ let's say something, we make that change or we don't make that change, whatever. But most importantly, এই জায়গায় product finish, where product finish is equal to cherry, we have to do this.
Can you write that in the next line? It will look better.
All right, sure, no problem. Okay, there you go. Thank you very much. I actually should have thought of that to improve visibility. Yes, so there you go. So where product finish is equal to cherry, all right? So we include that condition, fine. Now what you are saying, Zakaria, ওই কাজটাও আমরা করতে পারি. What we can do, you will see that in today's lecture later on anyway. So let's just see that, all right? So আমরা Boolean algebraতে multiple condition যখন include করতে যাই তখন আমরা কি করি?
And or.
That's right. We have the same thing in SQL as well. And or use করতে চাই. So what do you want? Do you want the average price of products that are made in cherry and natural ash, or cherry or natural ash? Which one?
চেরি অর
Cherry and natural.
And or.
Ma'am, here or does it even make sense?
You tell me which one makes sense or which one
এন্ড
doesn't
হলে
make
তার
sense.
দুইটাই
I don't
হইতে হবে,
think-
একটা প্রোডাক্ট দুইটা দিয়েই তৈরি হইতে হবে।
That's right. So actually here and doesn't make sense. এখানে যদি আমি and দেই, ঠিক আছে? And product finish is equal to natural ash যদি দেই, right? You will find that
Yeah.
we get null for that. All right, we'll get null for that because it's not possible that একটা product finish is both cherry and natural ash. All right, null. There you go. We'll get null because এই দোনোটা কন্ডিশন স্যাটিসফাই করবে এরকম কোনো রোই তো নেই, তাই না? আমরা প্রোডাক্ট টেবিলে এমন কোন প্রোডাক্ট কি ছিল যেটার ফিনিশে চেরি, ন্যাচারাল অ্যাশ, both of them were there? No. So it's not possible at all to find a row where the product finish value is both cherry and natural ash at the same time. However, when we do or, what does that mean? That cherry হতে পারে অথবা natural ash হতে পারে, or it could be both. That's fine too. Both তো হবে না, as we just saw in the ক্ষেত্রে, but there are some rows where it's cherry and some rows where it's natural ash. So if we were to execute this one, now that would work. Does it make sense, guys?
ইয়েস ম্যাম।
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, miss.
Very good. Okay. Now just another example, and then you are on your own. You will try something out. This is based on the UnityB example. The average credit for all courses. If you were to calculate the average credit for all courses, how do we do that? First of all, figure out which table do we need to go to. Always first চিন্তা করবা যে from which table. We want to find out the average credit value for all courses. Average credit for all courses.
From course table.
Course table.
From course
Course
table.
table.
Okay, good. Fine. In that case, once we have figured out from which table, then we figure out if there are any conditions or not. In this case, there aren't any conditions. Then figure out what are we selecting? কোন ডেটাটা চাচ্ছি? সিলেক্টের সাথে কি লিখবো?
Select all from course.
Okay, so you're saying basically we will
Sorry,
write
select average.
Average.
Yeah,
Insert
select
average course credits from course table. That's it.
Yeah.
You get all the, credits for all the courses. The average credits for all the courses.
So tell me, what will the command be specifically? Select, then AVG, and then what do I pass here?
Average, then
Credit.
course credit from
I think
course.
it was written credit.
Yeah.
Credit হবে
Whatever
শুধু।
the table name for the course credit, I think.
So you have to be very careful here, Sabit. You see, because relational schemate, je column name ta deya ache, you have to use exactly that. Why? Because you have to assume
Yeah, I
that
know.
column heads are the same. So here, what I'm trying to say is course credit hole kintu actually কাজ করবে না. It has to be AVG, and then you have to pass credit, specifically credit. Yeah, both of them make sense. But the DBMS doesn't know that. The DBMS isn't intelligent. And when you write the command in the exam or for your, you will find out when you do it for your project as well, you have to be careful about those things. Ekhane credit ache, you have to use credit there, because that based on that, we have created our tables, and we'll assume that the column names, the column heads in the tables are that as well. So AVG of credit from which table again? Course table. That's what you said, right? Course underscore T. We'll assume it's course underscore T. Course. So, and then we'll get the result. Now, what if we wanted this average GPA of STID2? Let's go back to the schema. We want to know the average GPA of the student whose student ID is 2. First, figure out which table do we need to look at to calculate the average
Student
GPA.
course.
Student table.
Student course.
Student course table. Yes, very good. It's the student course table. Student table এর মধ্যে student information থাকলেও GPA information কি আছে? Is there anything called
No,
GPA?
ma'am.
No. So we need the average of GPA. GPA is there in the
Student course.
That's right. So we need to go to the student course table. আচ্ছা fine, ওখানে গেলাম। কি এখন what else? We need to calculate the average GPA, but average GPA of all students? No.
No.
Average GPA
Last
of
where
student ID is 2.
Yeah.
So how do we put the condition? How do we place a condition then? Using the where clause. Where clause use করে condition টা বসাবো. Then tell me in that case. So how does this change? From এর সাথে বসাবো কি?
Student course.
Student course.
Student course.
Credited জায়গায় GPA.
Credited জায়গায় GPA, এই জায়গাটায়, you mean? Okay, fine. Is that all?
Where
No.
student
Where STID is equal to 2.
Let's see how that's written here. STID, right? ID. Right. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So this is our PubsDB. Let's try and calculate the average price of all books. Let's try and write the command for average price of all books. So the PubsDB is already available in your classroom. You will find it in your theory classroom right at the top of the resource. No, the second one in the resources section. So the pub schema, if you won't see that. Don't know why that's happening. Am I facing network issues again? No. Right. Okay. All right. So you can try it out, and that it's not going to behave the same way for some reason. In my case, it's acting like a prick. Anyway, you should be able to open the schema. All right. It's already shared in your class room, the theory classroom. So take a look at the schema and let's figure out how we can write the command for calculating the average price of all books. All right. Average price of all books. That's what we want to calculate. Pretty easy and straightforward. Should be easy for all of you guys.
So select average price
Price. Yes.
from TBL titles.
Average function কি
TBL
হবে?
titles. I don't know. I don't know how to write it. I write it based on what you tell me.
Oh, okay. AVG,
AVG.
That's right.
bracket start, price, bracket end.
Okay.
And then TBL is small letters.
Not TBL, only titles, and then underscore T. Titles underscore T.
In the JPEG it's TBL titles. তাই বললাম।
বাট এই যে লেফট সাইডে ডিবিএমএস এর এগুলো দেখলে দেখবা টাইটেলস আন্ডারস্কোর টি লেখা আছে।
Oh yeah.
The table name.
Okay, what exactly are you trying to find here? Are you trying to find the average price of
All books.
what?
Simply
Of
all
the
books. That's
books.
all. Of all the
That's
books.
it.
That's all.
Okay.
That's it. Nothing too complicated. That's all. This should work,
Price
right?
like price should be small letters, I guess? Or does it
No,
even
sure.
matter?
Let's take a look at the titles table. For your exam, by the way, for your exam, you don't have to be too worried. For your exam, you can refer to the schema that is shared with you. All right. Titles table এ যাবো দেখবো price কিভাবে আছে এখানে দেখছি all lowercase. All right. So in that case, এখানে আমার actually uppercase থাকতে পারবে না. Here as well, I'll put it that way. Right. And for the table, we know the convention is what? The name of the table underscore T. All right. Actually, by convention, it should be in this way. Right. এই যে কনভেনশনটা ফলো করলেই চলবে অথবা if that's difficult for you as well, এখানে যে স্কিমাতে যে table name দেয়া আছে, even that you can go with. All right. In the exam, we're not going to be too pedantic about it. As long as you use the exact table name that's given in the schema, or you follow this convention. All right. Okay. In the exam, but here in the query tool, in order for this to work, you have to go with these names. Otherwise, it's not going to recognize it, right? So এখানে যে নামগুলো আছে এগুলো থেকে নিতে হবে, ঠিক আছে? Right then, so that will work. That should work. Now, AVG price. I don't want this to be the result. I don't want this to be the column head. How do I change it?
As
You put an as.
average
As
per
price
As
প্রাইস এর
or
পরে
as
এভারেজ প্রাইস
as
From এর আগে as
ফ্রম এর আগে।
okay, yes, thank you very much. Right. As average price. Do that. Yeah. Right then. And if we wanted to, yes.
প্রাইস কে ক্যাপিটাল রাখলেও তো হচ্ছে কমান্ড এক্সিকিউট হয় দেখি।
হ্যাঁ হওয়ার তো কথা because SQL isn't case sensitive. Let's try and see, but I'm not sure if it's going to take it for the variable names. But the keywords are not case sensitive. SQL is not case sensitive. All right. So it
আচ্ছা।
should work. Yeah, it does work because SQL is not case sensitive. SQL কি করে automatically এগুলো সবগুলোকে তার নিজের মতো হচ্ছে কনভার্ট করে নেয়। So SQL এ case doesn't matter, but আমরা convention follow করি, ঠিক আছে? এই
Okay.
জায়গাগুলোতে হচ্ছে কি আমরা কোড করতে গিয়েও তো হচ্ছে কি অনেক কিছু, it doesn't matter, the code will still work, but still we follow convention, and it's you are sometimes just based on conventions as well because of readability, how it affects the readability of the code, ঠিক আছে? So same goes here as well. So
Okay, ma'am.
readability, just একটা practice আর কি, good practice. Once you have a good foundation of SQL, most of you wouldn't be using these commands at all for that matter. But nonetheless, in order to be able to work with these, make multiple tables work together, work with complex queries, you need to know the basics. And even there, you need to follow the conventions. Anyway, moving on. Acha. So that's something very simple and straightforward. Are একটু হালকা complex কিছুর দিকে যায়. What if I wanted to calculate the average price of all books that were published after 2019? Or I'll make it a little bit easier for you. After 2019, January 1st. So this is our schema, right? I want to calculate the average price of all books, yes, but for only those books which were published after January 1st, 2019.
This where দিয়ে দিব
So
pub
where
date
pub
and
date?
then
Yeah.
Where?
Okay, before that, we need to know SQL or date format টা কিভাবে, like year, month, or day, নাকি day, month, year. So because there's a date involved, so I'm assuming it's a date variable, or I
Yes.
mean a date column.
For that, what we can do is a simple search of MySQL date format, and you will find out that it's year, month, date, right? So we will put the year first, then month, then date. So what do we want the date to be? Jan 1st, 2019. So first we'll put the year, so YYY 2019, and then the month, and then the date, and separated by dash or hyphen, whatever you call it. Okay. So once again, where, then what?
2019
Pub date.
dash
Where pub date, pub underscore date.
right. Pub
Yes, we
date,
have to
yes.
be very careful about these things, these small things as well. Fine. Okay. Where pub date. Okay. Pub underscore date,
Underscore
actually.
date.
That's
equal
right.
to,
Equal to. Okay. Equal to
two-
what?
2019 Eve.
2019.
Greater than হবে
কোটেশনের
না?
ভিতরে হবে না ম্যাম?
/0101. I mean -0101. I think we also need to code this.
Greater.
Very good.
এমনি
Yes,
হবে
we
না।
need to code this. Exactly. Date কিন্তু টেক্সটের মতো করে হ্যান্ডেল করা হয়, right? So we need to put dates always under quotation. ঠিক আছে, এভাবে করে রাখতে হবে. And also, will this work?
Greater
This আমরা
than-
after বলেছিলাম
After.
greater দিতে
It
হবে
has to be greater.
Yeah.
Update greater than. So that's the one.
Miss, please use line breaks. Write it in the next line. It
All
looks-
right. Yeah, I
looks
forgot
kinda-
again. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit slip
This
deprived.
is bad convention.
Yes, thank you. That is bad convention. Thank you very much for pointing that out to me, Savit. Yes, I'll try to keep that in mind, and feel free to point it out every time I forget. Yeah. Okay, for you guys as well, this is bad convention. For me, bad convention ends up in being, let's say, at worst, mocked by you guys. But in your case, bad convention ends up in bad grades. So, like, don't do the same mistake. So make sure that you guys separate them by lines when you write your answers. Okay, moving back to the lecture. Okay. Where were we? So that's basic SQL. Should be easy for you guys. So there are some other aggregate functions as well, like the average function. Look them up. For example, we have the count function as well. If you wanted to count things, let's say, for example, for a specific order number, or for a specific order receipt, how many items were there, right? So how many different items were ordered on order number 1004? Order number 1004 যে রিসিপ্টটাতে আছে, ওই অর্ডার ফর্মে কতগুলো আইটেম অর্ডার করা হয়েছিল? First, once again, we always first need to think about which table, কোন টেবিলে থাকবে। আমাদের কোন টেবিল এটা ফিগার আউট করার জন্য দেখতে হবে কোন টেবিলে অর্ডার নাম্বার থাকে, কোন টেবিলে অর্ডার নাম্বার থাকে এবং ওই একই টেবিলে আইটেমসও থাকতে হবে। ঠিক আছে, the items in the order number, both of them have to be in that table. ঠিক আছে, if you remember from the previous C database, this will not work with the order table. Why? Because order table order number থাকবে fine, but product কিন্তু থাকবে না, বা একটা অর্ডারে কতগুলো প্রোডাক্ট আছে এই জিনিসগুলো থাকবে না। Let's take a look. So this was our PVFC database. If you take a look at the order table, it has order ID, but nothing else. It won't work because we need to count the number of items in a specific order. Order ID আছে শুধুমাত্র। The items in an order, they're not there. Okay? But if you take a look at the order line table, on the other hand, there's order ID, product ID. That is, প্রত্যেকটা অর্ডার আর ওই অর্ডারে কি কি প্রোডাক্ট আছে এই প্রোডাক্টগুলো আছে। ঠিক আছে, এই ইনফরমেশনটা এই টেবিলে আছে। Every single row contains the order and the product that's there in that order. Let's take a look at the entire table. All right, so it's the order line table, right? So from order line, right? So there you go. So order ID 1001. In this order, there were in total 3 products ordered in this specific order. Order ID 1001 যে রিসিটটা আছে ওখানে 3টা প্রোডাক্ট অর্ডার করা হয়েছিল, প্রোডাক্ট 1, প্রোডাক্ট 2, প্রোডাক্ট 4, 3টা প্রোডাক্ট অর্ডার করা হয়েছিল। ঠিক আছে, so we get that in this table because here not only order ID is there, also in every single order which specific products were there. But আমাদের কিন্তু লাগবে কয়টা প্রোডাক্ট, in total কয়টা প্রোডাক্ট অর্ডার করা হয়েছিল অর্ডার নাম্বার 1004 এ। How many products were ordered in order number 1004? So for that, what do we have to do? We will go to this table from order line table, but here we will have to count things, because how many, the moment they ask for how many things, the moment you see how many things, you have to think about the count aggregate function, right? How many? So we have to use count. So here you can use how many products were ordered, right? So you can do this, how many product IDs were ordered. However, we want to do this only for a specific order, not for all of them. We want to do this only for order ID 1004. So I will do here a where clause. I'll put a where clause here where I'll specify that order ID is equal to 1004. So count returns 2. Okay. Now, an interesting thing here is that it doesn't matter whether you put all or product ID or whatever. Okay. Because the moment you do this, let's say, select all from order line. I'm still putting the where clause in. I haven't removed the where clause, by the way. Notice that. So we have these 2 rows. ঠিক আছে, এই দুটো রো আছে না? So count যেটা করবে, if I use count here, count করবে কি, আমি এখানে product ID দিই বা order ID দিই বা even ordered quantity দিই, যেটাই দিই না কেন, সে কি করবে, সে চেক করবে ordered quantity কয়টা ভ্যালু আছে। Simply, how many values are there for ordered quantity? কয়টা ভ্যালু আছে? 2টা ভ্যালু আছে, right? So instead of that, whatever you place here, it doesn't matter. So that's why save time, আমরা হচ্ছে কোনো চিন্তাই করি না, আমরা সিম্পলি অল বসিয়ে দিই। কেন? কারণ কি, অল মানে কি, অল মিন্স হোয়াট, অল কলামস, all of these 3 columns. So 3টা কলাম নিলেও তো ultimately it's the same thing. How many rows are there? 2টা রোই তো আছে, because the moment you specify which specific order ID, the moment you do this, there are only 2 rows. So it doesn't matter whether you place all or whether you place product ID here, or whatever it is that you place. For readability purposes, you should place product ID so that it makes more sense, because we were asked how many items were ordered in order ID 1004. So basically we have to count the number of products that were ordered in order ID 1004. That's what we have to count, right? কতগুলো product order করা হয়েছিল order ID 1004 এ, এটা count করতে হবে. So just to make it more readable, we can do this, but it doesn't really matter, right? এখানে all বসালেও it's the same thing. কয়টা product ID আছে? দুটো আছে. Order quantity কয়টা আছে? দুটো আছে. Order ID value কয়টা আছে? দুটো আছে. So instead of that, you can just place all as well. Doesn't matter. It's the same thing at the end of the day. Okay? Clear, guys?
Yes.
Yes, miss.
Okay, all right. So similarly, for our UnityB example, if we wanted to calculate the number of students who have done or are doing CAC 303, the course CAC 303, once again, how many? The moment they say how many, we know that we have to use the count function. However, first we have to answer which table do we go to. ঠিক আছে? What is it that we are looking for? We're looking for the number of students who have done or are doing the CAC 303 course. All right? So we need both the student and the CAC 303 course. ঠিক আছে? So course ID, student ID, দোনোটাই রাখবে. So to figure out from which table, we first have to find out which relation has both student ID and course ID, both of them. STID, course code, or course ID, whichever it is, both of them are present in which relation? We have to find
Student course.
student course, exactly. It first figure out করতে হবে. So the moment we figure out that, okay, from student course table, then we figure out if there are any conditions or not, or figure out what is it that we are looking for. We are trying to count the number of students, and are there any conditions? We are trying to count the number of students who have done or are doing the CAC 303 course, only for the CAC 303 course, so not for the entire table. পুরো টেবিলের সবগুলো রো আমার লাগবে না, শুধুমাত্র wherever the course code value is CAC 303, only for CAC 303. So that's why we will include a where clause, and there we'll put in this condition where course code is CAC 303, and from there count all. So here, for readability purposes, you could have done something like this. Count the STID, let's say. Count the students, count the total number of students from student course table where course code is equal to CAC 303. For readability, you could have done this. Count the total number of students. However, it doesn't make any difference whether you put it STID or all, right? But if you put this, there's nothing wrong with that either. If you don't as well, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Now then, let's take a look at something a little more interesting. Let's examine this query a little bit. We want to count the number of items, different items that were ordered on order number 1004, and plus we want to know what are those products. So remember the command that we were trying out just a while back. So here we were looking for the total number of products ordered in order ID 1004, and we got that. All right. Now we want to know that there are two products in order ID 1004. So basically we want to know the total number of products, yes, but we also want to know what are the products. We also want to know, along with this, we want to know what are the products, right? That's what we want to know. So how do we do that? One possible suggestion or solution could be this, that you select the product ID as well. So কোন product আমি product ID দেখে বুঝলাম. Select the product ID along with the count, right? So that we get in the result. আমরা তো রেজাল্টে যেটা দেখতে পাই ওটাই তো আমরা সিলেক্টে বসাই, তাই না? রেজাল্টে যেটা দেখতে চাই ওটাই তো আমরা সিলেক্টে বসাই। We want to see the total count of the number of products.
So
That's what
wouldn't there be rows and columns different?
So what are you talking about once again? So if we were to do this here,
Yeah, I will have multiple rows for the product IDs, but count will be just
very good. Very
one.
good, exactly. Remember, this is something that we talked about in relational algebra as well. We have to be very careful about dimensions in the result table in SQL. The dimensions have to match. See here, if I were to just execute this command, right? Get rid of this part. Select only the product ID. How many rows do I get in the result? 2 rows. And now, instead of that, if I were to do this, right? Count product ID, I only get 1 row, a single row. So if I mix the two up, actually I won't get a result, I'll get an error instead. Right? I'll get a huge error. What the error is basically talking about is that you are trying to view the aggregate result, the result of an aggregate function, which is going to be a single value or a scalar value or a scalar result. The result of an aggregate function in this manner, when it's executed in this manner, will return a scalar result. And this one will not. It will return a list. So you cannot combine a list with a scalar result because the dimensions don't match. So that won't work basically. So in these cases, we have to be very careful. It's not so simple as just listing the product ID and count altogether. Only selecting the product ID will give us the details of the product, sure. And only selecting the count separately will give us the total count of the number of products. But just combining the two together won't do the trick. We have to go the other way about it, all right? So how do we do that? What we'll use here, you'll get a short snippet of subquery. We will look at subqueries later on in details, but via this next example, you will get a small example of subqueries and derived tables, the things that we will look into more details later on, just to give you an idea about the things that you need to be careful with. So another query, another command, see here, we want to see the difference between the standard price and overall average standard price for each product. So for each product, for every single product in the product table, we want to see the difference between its standard price and the overall average standard price. So see here, once again, we have this similar situation. এখানে যে জিনিসটা ছিল একই সিচুয়েশন এখানেও হচ্ছে, ঠিক আছে? এখানে কি ছিল? এখানে হচ্ছে কি আমরা রেজাল্টে একই সাথে একটা অ্যাগ্রিগেট রেজাল্ট দেখতে যাচ্ছি, which is the count of the total number of products, and সাথে হচ্ছে কি দেখতে যাচ্ছি the products themselves, which is a list of values, all right? So vector scalar একসাথে মিলাতে গেলে it's not going to return the result at all. It'll give us an error. Same thing is happening here as well. We want to see the difference between the standard price and the overall average standard price. What is this? Overall average standard price কিভাবে calculate করব? Using aggregate function, which will give us a scalar result. And the standard price, however, it will give us multiple rows. How do we combine the two? Standard price হচ্ছে গিয়ে multiple rows, a list of values. And overall average standard price is a single value. How do we combine the two? This here, which we would think of if we didn't know enough SQL or if we didn't have enough practice, if we were to do this, we would get an error, all right? Simply from the product table, we will get the product standard price, sure. Simply from the product table, we will also get the average of product standard price, sure. But can we combine the two though? No, we cannot. Remember, once again, in relational algebra, to perform operations between tables, we must make sure that the dimensions match. A product standard price যখন আমি সিলেক্ট করতে যাব, it will give me a list of values. This one will give me a single value. The two won't combine, all right? So from the product table, individually যদি আমি product standard price select করতাম, it would work. And we would get a list of all the product standard prices. Individually যদি individually select just AVG product standard price from product table যদি করতাম, তাহলে একটা single value return পেতাম, that average value. But if you try to combine the two, then it won't work, because this one is a list of values, this one is a single value. You can't combine the two. So what is the solution then? What we do is we use an inner query. This is a subquery, right? Used as a derived table. We use an inner query, and in that inner query we calculate the average separately. ঠিক আছে? So average calculate করার কমান্ডটা কি হতে পারে? Average calculate করার কমান্ডটা আমরা আলাদা এক্সিকিউট করে দেখি, ঠিক আছে? So average calculate করার যে কমান্ডটা, সেটা যদি আমরা রান করি individually, just the one. Okay, no, that's the pubs. Right. Okay. So we get this here, right? As price average. Okay. So এটা হচ্ছে গিয়ে individually কেন করে দেখালাম? So you understand what's going on in the inner query. So remember always that parenthesis এর ভিতরে query যেটা, ওটা হচ্ছে গিয়ে আগে executed হবে. Not always actually. There are even more complex commands that you will look at later on, correlated subquery, which works just like a nested for loop. So that's a bit different. We'll look at that later. But yeah, for simple subqueries like this, the inner query would be executed first, all right? That will be executed, all right? And once this is executed, we'll get this result. This result, all right? Price AVG, and under price AVG, we'll get this. ঠিক আছে? So what's going to happen next is that, see here, I've listed this in the, see here that I've listed this in the from clause, with the from clause. From clause এর মধ্যে we've listed this along with the product table. So this result will be treated as a table. See here, we've used an alias as well for this table. So এই যে এই রেজাল্টটা যেটা আছে, ঠিক আছে, এখানে যে রেজাল্টটা দেখতে পাচ্ছি, this result, price AVG 440.625, এই রেজাল্টটা, it will be treated as a table. Which table? The derived table, the temporary derived table. This table will be destroyed once the query is executed. Remember that. This is a temporary table. It will be destroyed the moment the query is executed. We call it an intermediate table. So a inner query to execute kore amra oই রেজাল্টটা পাবো, that result will be stored under the derived table. So we call this the derived table. The name of the table
Ma'am,
yes.
এখানে তো like as price average table দিল যে, like
Where?
like এটা parenthesis এর বাইরে,
This one. Are
like
you talking about this here?
yeah.
No. Price AVG is the alias for the result, for the column head. This one.
Yeah.
All right. Price AVG is the column head. Column head কিন্তু. But table এর নাম থাকে না. So product table.
Oh
product
yes,
table এর ভিতরে তো column head আছে, তাই না? Similarly, আমার তো just column head থাকলে হবে না actually. আমার এখানে আমি column head দিলাম, column head এর আন্ডারে একটা ভ্যালু আসলো, ভালো কথা। বাট এই পুরা টেবিলটা তো আমার একটা টেবিল নেমের আন্ডারে রাখতে হবে। আদারওয়াইজ how will the DBMS call upon this table? আমি তো simply এই কোয়েরিটা লিখলাম। DBMS কোয়েরিটা চালানোর সময় they will call upon this table. So that's why you must name it so that the DBMS can call upon it.
Got it, ma'am.
All right. So this table, this result actually, this result, price AVG and এটার আন্ডারে যে ভ্যালুটা আছে, that result will be stored under this name. So this will be our second table. So from product table and the derived table, combining the two together, now I can do this, all right? Because once I do this, product table, comma, derived table, what's going to happen is that these two tables will be joined, and this value, this price AVG value, will be attached with every single row of the product table the moment I list multiple tables in the from command. All right. From command e jokhon ami multiple table list korbo, the two tables will be joined together. So product table e jotogulo row dekhechilam amra, product table e ki 8টা row or something like that, প্রত্যেকটা রোতে গিয়ে এই ভ্যালুটা অ্যাটাচ হবে. So see here, if this is my product table, let's say, this is my product table. Yeah. So in this table, এই 8টা রো যে আছে, এই 8টা রো এর সাথে প্রত্যেকটার সাথে আমার average price attach হয়ে যাবে. All right. So basically there will be another column at the end. All right. So there will be a 6th column here after product standard price called AVG price. And there in every single row, the value will be the same. The AVG price value that we found previously. AJ 440.625. This value will be attached to every single row in the join. And once we have that table, from there we can do the minus. এই যে minus যে করতে হবে এই জিনিসটা আমরা ওখান থেকে কিন্তু করতে পারবো. That's why actually this command will work. If you try out this command, this one will work. This one will not work. You will get an error. You can try it out and take a look at the error. It should be interesting for you, but it will not work for sure. So now if you execute this command, however, this should work. Okay. There you go. Yeah. And this is why it works. See here, what I've done here is simply, I'm trying to show you what happens the moment we list these two tables together. This is what happens. So price AVG যে ভ্যালুটা ওটা প্রত্যেকটা রো এর সাথে অ্যাটাচ হয়ে গেল. That's exactly why this works, right? Because the moment I list these multiple tables in the from clause, product table আছে and then সাথে আরেকটা table আছে. What table is that? The derived table, a new table. So far আমরা কিন্তু from clause এ একটাই table দিচ্ছিলাম. So far in all the commands that we have seen, and also in many of the commands that we'll see after this command as well, in all of them you'll see there will be only one table in the from clause. Very simple. But the moment you bring in multiple tables in the from clause এ যদি multiple table রাখো ওই সবগুলো টেবিলকে জয়েন করা হবে. সো এই প্রোডাক্ট টেবিলের সাথে ডিরাইভড টেবিলকে জয়েন করা হয়েছে এখানে বেসিক্যালি. সো জয়েন করা হলে কি হলো, ডিরাইভড টেবিলে যে ভ্যালুগুলো আছে প্রত্যেকটা ভ্যালু প্রোডাক্ট টেবিলের প্রত্যেকটা রো এর সাথে অ্যাটাচড হয়ে গেল. ঠিক আছে? সো দিস ইজ দ্য টেবল দ্যাট উই গেট. This is the 6th column that we get because of this join. And that's why this difference now works. Because একই টেবিলের মধ্যে প্রত্যেকটা রোতে তুমি প্রত্যেকটা ইন্ডিভিজুয়াল রোতে স্ট্যান্ডার্ড প্রাইস আর প্রাইস এভিজি পাচ্ছি. Right? That's why this works. And this does not. Because in this one, you don't have that. In this one, this is a separate list of values and this is just a scalar value. Does it make sense, guys, or it's going completely over your head?
That makes sense.
Is there like a different way to do this exact same thing?
There should be, sure. But this is one of the simpler ways. You'll find out. If this seems difficult to you, you don't need to worry yet, because this is, let's say, at least 2 lectures ahead. All right. This is just a small snippet just to show you that you have to be careful. While so far it seems all breezy and easy, but in some cases, specifically when you have to combine aggregate functions with list of values, you have to be very careful. এটাই just একটা pointer দিয়ে রাখার জন্য হচ্ছে কি we are showing this to you, but we'll talk about this later on in details. All right, later on. তখন গিয়ে when we do more and more examples, আর এর আগে আরো অন্যান্য কনসেপ্ট যখন আমরা এক্সপ্লোর করব, this will become easier to you. All right, or this will seem more approachable, let's say. All right. So for now, all I need to know is whether you understand it at least. Even if it seems difficult, it will be more and more comfortable with more practice. But for now, do you understand what we're talking about here? Most importantly, why this won't work? এইটা কেন কাজ করবে না? Do we understand that? Guys?
Yes.
It's all right if you don't get it. I can go over it again. It's fine. All right. So if you at any point feel that, okay, you want me to revisit something, just let me know. Right. So yeah. Okay. We have to be basically very careful when we have to combine aggregate functions with things that will return list of values, multiple values. That is, multiple value return korbe, single value return korbe, jhamela, right? Same thing here as well. Multiple
Okay, can
value
I
return
see
korbe,
what if you
single
didn't
value.
write the derived table part in the last, like
Wouldn't have worked.
in the
Yes,
SQL
let's
hash,
see.
যদি
Sure.
as derived table
Sure,
না
no
দিলে
problem.
কি হইতো?
There you go. Every derived table must have its own alias. That's a rule, okay? Because every table, remember, relational data structure কতগুলো basic rule যে ছিল ওগুলোর মধ্যে একটা rule কি ছিল? Every single relation must have a name. Every single table must have a name. The moment you list it in the from clause, you're treating it as a table. The moment you treat it as a table, it must have a name. It must have an alias. All right? So it won't work without the alias. Right. So same thing for the UniDB case. Let's say if you want to see the um, difference between the GPA and the overall average GPA for every single student course instance in the student course table, how do we do that? Right? Once again, simply inner query মধ্যে ফার্স্ট অ্যাভারেজটা ক্যালকুলেট করে নিব আলাদাভাবে। আমরা কি চাচ্ছি? জিপিআর অ্যাভারেজ জিপিএ ডিফারেন্সটা দেখতে চাচ্ছি ফর এভরি সিঙ্গল স্টুডেন্ট কোর্স ইনস্টেন্স। ফার্স্টে আমরা ইনার কোয়েরি যেটা ইনার কোয়েরিতে আলাদা করে অ্যাভারেজ জিপিএটা ক্যালকুলেট করে নিব, রাইট? অ্যান্ড অলসো প্লেস দ্য অ্যাভারেজ জিপিএ রেজাল্ট আন্ডার অ্যান এলিয়াস so that you can use it easily later on, ঠিক আছে? আমরা একটা এলিয়াস আন্ডার রাখলাম এফজি জিপিএ, এটা আমরা আবার এই জায়গাটায় ইউজ করব, ঠিক আছে? রাইট? Otherwise, it will be a bit difficult because ekhane this is an aggregate function. If you use the aggregate function here, then the DBMS will be confused. Remember that the result, if you don't
Hello. Disconnected.
then the DBMS will be confused. যে AVG GPA column head বলতে চাচ্ছে নাকি হচ্ছে গিয়ে AVG GPA is going to be an aggregate function that needs to be applied. So that won't work. That's why here as well, this alias as well is a must. A price AVG alias যে ইউজ করেছি, we must use this alias because difference তো আমার এই price AVG alias কে কল করতে হবে. We must call upon this one. And when we call upon this one, remember that price AVG works. However, এই aliasটা যদি ইউজ না করতাম তখন আমাকে এই জায়গায় ডিরেক্ট বসাতে হতো AVG product standard price. In the inner query, AVG GPA as AVG GPA, a different alias for us, so that we can use this variable name or this alias when we want to calculate the difference, right? And then name this derived table something, whatever you want, derived table, AVG derived table, whatever it is that you want to name it, all right? And then simply calculate the difference. Then it becomes easy.
Okay, I want to try another query. Is it okay if I tell you and you write it?
Let's try the pub schema so that we practice something for the exam as well. Let's try something from here. Sure. Bolo?
I mean, standard price rate. You were trying to see the difference in the average. So I was thinking এটা কি করা যায়, like select লেখে then you list out select star then comma then what was it called, average plus no, wait, let me write it down, see if it works. এখানে আমি যেটা দেখ, hello miss, are you there?
Probably network issue again.
Once again, sorry guys, extremely sorry for my terrible internet connection. Yeah, okay. So I don't think we'll have any issues right now because I've switched to data. Everyone can hear me fine, I hope.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay,
miss.
all right. So let's try something using the pub schema then. So if we have our pub schema open, price is there in the titles table as well. So titles table use করে আমরা try করি। ঠিক আছে? Let's try and write the command for calculating the difference between, let's say, the average price of all books and each book. All right? The difference between the price of each book and the average price of all books. Let's try and write the command for that, shall we? Okay, so first of all, let's try and see what we need to write in the inner clause, yeah? Once again, remember that we're trying to calculate the difference between the price of each book and the average price, the overall average price of all books. So what should we write in the inner query? Let's just figure that out first. Let's go in small steps. ইনার কোয়েরিতে কি করব আমরা? এই যে এখানে আমরা যখন average GPA আর GPA ডিফারেন্সটা বের করছিলাম, what did we do in the inner query? We calculate the average beforehand. Inner queryতে অ্যাভারেজটা আগে ক্যালকুলেট করে ফেলেছি। এই যে এখানেও সিমিলারলি অ্যাভারেজ প্রাইস আর স্ট্যান্ডার্ড প্রাইসের ডিফারেন্স জানতে চাচ্ছি। ফার্স্ট ইনার কোয়েরিতে অ্যাভারেজটা আগে ক্যালকুলেট করে ফেলেছি। So similarly, here as well, using the pub schema, we want to calculate the difference between the price of each book and the overall average price. So what will we do in the inner query?
So we'll need to calculate the average price of the
How
books
do we do
first.
that?
Select average.
AVG.
AVG.
That's right, AVG. What? Price, right?
Price.
Price.
And what?
As average price of all books.
Let's just call it average price of book, like you said, sure. And what?
From title.
Title?
Titles T.
Titles
From titles T.
That's right, titles underscore T.
All caps. Titles T in all caps.
It will still work. SQL is not case sensitive. I keep saying the opposite. It's not case sensitive, so it will still recognize it. But yeah, titles underscore T এখানে যে নামে দেওয়া উচিত ওটা use করা উচিত. But for the exam, since this is the convention actually, titles underscore T is the convention, so you can use this. I think it's something to do with how it's stored here in MySQL. I think even if you use titles underscore T, they will store it in this way. There's a possibility unless you change something. Yeah, but yeah, never mind. It's fine if we use this. SQL will still be able to recognize this. Okay. Are we done
What
with the
are
inner
you
query?
selecting here for? Like select what? And why is there a comma after from?
Right, we are writing the inner query first. This is the outer query,
Oh,
right?
okay.
This is the outer query. Let's get rid of that if that's confusing for you. We're writing the inner query first. Remember, in every single one of the examples that we've done so far, we calculate the average beforehand in the inner query, right? So here as well, we want to calculate what the difference between the price of each book and the average price. So we want to calculate the average beforehand in the inner query, like some of you guys suggested, all right? So, okay, so inner query শেষ, তাই না? তাহলে outer query তে যাবো নাকি? We'll go to the outer query then. Select and then from what? প্রাইস আর অ্যাভারেজ প্রাইসের ডিফারেন্স জানতে চাচ্ছি। প্রাইস কোথায় পাবো? অ্যাভারেজ প্রাইস তো এখান থেকে ইনার কোয়েরি
ম্যাম
gives us
ইনার
yes,
কোয়েরি থেকে অ্যাজ আ টেবল দিতে হবে না?
that's right, very good. So in the inner query, remember that the result that we'll get in the inner query যে রেজাল্টটা রিটার্ন করবে এটা কোন ক্লজের আন্ডারে রিটার্ন করবে? Under which clause is it returning? Under the from clause. And what do we place in the from clause? From clause এ আমরা কি রাখি সব সময়?
টেবিল
Tables. Very good. From clause এ আমরা সব সময় tables রাখি। So from clause এ যেটাই রিটার্ন করবে এটাকে একটা টেবিল হিসেবে ট্রিট করা হবে, and every table must have a name or an alias. Since this is a temporary table, we must have a alias for this. Let's call it derived table, all right? Whatever you want to call it, it's fine. This is just a garbage value that the DBMS needs, but it has to be there. Okay, now, so that's our inner query, which will be treated as a table. Which one is the other table that we will list in the from clause? যেখানে আমরা প্রাইসটা পাবো, প্রত্যেকটা বইয়ের প্রাইস পাবো। প্রত্যেকটা বইয়ের প্রাইস কোথায় আছে, কোন টেবিলে আছে? Which table has the price of all the books?
Titles names.
Titles table, that's right, very good. Titles table. All right, so, and finally, what do we select from here? The difference, all right? So the difference between the price and the average price, as simple as that. So how do we do that here? The difference between the price and the average price. So simply price minus কি করব? Average price. Average priceটা নেয়ার জন্য what variable do we have to call upon?
average price all book
Average price all books, যেটা inner queryতে যেটা রেখেছি, inner queryতে যেই নামটা ইউজ করছি for this column head, ওই নামটাই কিন্তু exactly ইউজ করতে হবে আমাকে। I have to use exactly that, all right? So এখানে আমি এটাই কল করব, right? You can use an alias for it if you want to or not, doesn't matter. You'll still get the result. Titles underscore T. Suddenly, why is there a problem?
সেমিকোলন একদম লাস্টে।
Semicolon.
No, semicolon, it adds it on its own.
ওকে
But it can't recognize this table actually. Titles though, ঠিক আছে। আচ্ছা, all right. Table name, it's not accepting the table name. Acha, never mind. That's fine too. It's not the semicolon. Semicolon, they added, you have to add the semicolon, by the way, but the DBMS adds the semicolon anyway, right? It wasn't accepting the table name because we were using titles in mixed case. That's why. Okay. Anyway, so that's the result, all right? And because we haven't used an alias for the final result, that's why the column head is this messy thing. Price minus average price all books. That's why the column head is like this, because এই যে এটার জন্য আমরা কোনো এলিয়াস ইউজ করিনি, ঠিক আছে? স্লাইডে যেরকম কি এলিয়াস দেয়া আছে, এরকম যদি আমরা এলিয়াস ইউজ করতাম, এখানে যে ডিফারেন্স জিপিএ টাইপের একটা এলিয়াস দেয়া আছে, এরকম একটা কোনো এলিয়াস ইউজ করি, তাহলে কলাম হেডটাও it will look nice and organized like that. Okay, doesn't matter though, as long as we understand the essence of it or how it works. Okay, anything else that any of you want to discuss on this topic? Cool. Then let's move on to easier things, all right? Let's take a break from the more complex stuff. These are some of the simpler stuff. Simply, what is the first product name in the product table? How do we calculate that? Use the min function or the max function. First product name in the product table. So alphabetically, if you want to search for that, that is alphabetically first product name কোনটা আসে, তাহলে we'll use min. Why? Because if you remember from ASCII value of the earlier alphabets will always be lower than the ones that come later. For example, ASCII value of A is lesser than ASCII value of Z, right? So based on that idea, হচ্ছে গিয়ে we apply this notion, ঠিক আছে? So select min function, the min aggregate function works just like your regular min function, ঠিক আছে? So if it's numerical values, তাহলে minimum numerical valueটা নিয়ে return করবে, and if it's characters, then character ASCII value basis এ minimumটা বের করে return করবে. In this case specifically, so product description এর মধ্যে যেটা করবে, সে first alphabetটা দেখবে, the starting letter, that is starting character, actually not even letter, starting character যেটা product description এর starting character যেটা সবার শুরুতে যে ক্যারেক্টারটা আছে ওই ক্যারেক্টারের মধ্যে minimum value কোনটা, ঠিক আছে? That is the one that's alphabetically first.
ম্যাম ASCII ভ্যালুতে তো বড় হাতের এ এন্ড স্মল লেটার এর মধ্যে ডিফারেন্স আছে, সো এইখান থেকে কোনটা আগে রিটার্ন করবে? কজ এসকিউএল তে এমনি কেস সেনসিটিভ না,
হ্যাঁ কেস সেনসিটিভ না। সো যেহেতু এটা হচ্ছে কি কেস সেনসিটিভ না, যে তোমার তো তখন হচ্ছে কি আপার কেস লোয়ার কেস ম্যাটার করে না, দ্য ডিফারেন্স ইজ ওনলি when it's a z, ঠিক আছে? কারণ কি সেটা এমনিও কনভার্ট করে নিচ্ছে, ঠিক আছে? সো ইন দ্যাট কেস তোমার হচ্ছে কি শুডন্ট ম্যাটার। ওকে
ওকে।
So what you need to just remember is that তোমার numerical value হলে simply minimum valueটা, আর যদি ক্যারেক্টার হয় তাহলে ফার্স্ট ক্যারেক্টার যেটা হবে, in this case for example alphabetically যাচ্ছে, so আমি alphabetically first যাচ্ছি, আমি min use করব, কারণ কি I have to remember that a has a lesser ASCII value than z, as simple as that. If I want the reverse, then max, as simple as that, right? Select min product description from product table. So if you try this out using the pubs.db, let's first see, let's say, what are the values there under product description. Product description এর under কি কি ভ্যালু আছে ফার্স্ট এটা দেখি, ঠিক আছে? আচ্ছা, yeah, okay, that's why I got confused. This one was okay, right here. So product description, all right? So the first one alphabetically should be actually this one, yeah, but let's see. Okay, so we want to calculate the min, select min product description, yeah, there you go. And if you want to go the other way around, the one that comes the last, then simply max দিলে that should work. Alphabetically যেটা লাস্টে আসে, ঠিক আছে? As you can see, W. If you take a look at the product table, yeah, W, this one. Okay, as simple as that. Pretty straightforward, basic stuff. Similarly, from the UnityB example, maximum GPA calculate করতে যাচ্ছি, GPA value কোথায় আছে ফার্স্টে আমার কিন্তু বের করতে হবে from which table, GPA value কোন টেবিলে আছে এটা ফিগার আউট করতে হবে। We know from experiences or examples so far student course table GPA আছে, so from there just calculate the max GPA, right? এটা তো straightforward, GPA is a number, so max GPA, simple as that. Okay, now then, comparison of operators. We are all familiar with these things already. The equal, greater, greater or equal, less than, less or equal, not equal to দুটা symbol আছে, all right? Either one is fine. Exclamation equals যেটা হচ্ছে গিয়ে some of you should be used to with in programming at least. So this is acceptable and this is also acceptable. যে কোনো একটা ইউজ করলেই চলে। Of course দোনোটা ইউজ করবা না, মানে you cannot use both side by side. Either one should be fine. Either use this one or use this one. Okay, right then. So how can we use these operators? You guys have already used the greater than less than operator, right? When we were doing the date example. So same thing here. Which orders have been placed between these two dates? So order date আছে, so we know that we have to go to the order table. Order ID, order date, দোনোটা জিনিস লাগবে। Which orders? So we need the orders, that is the order ID. Which orders have been placed? The result, ultimately we want the orders, so order ID লাগবে। Between these two dates, so order date লাগবে। So I'm talking about these things to figure out which table to go to. Order লাগবে, that is order ID লাগবে, and dates লাগবে, order dates. Order ID, order date, দোনোটা আছে কোন টেবিলে? In the order table. So we know that we have to go to the order table. So from the order table, fine. What is it that we want in the result? Order ID and order date. Fine. And are there any conditions? Yes, between these two orders, also between these two dates. So where order date greater than this value and less than this value between these two. Okay. The products that aren't made up of that aren't finished in cherry. Products that aren't finished in cherry. So আমার product finish লাগবে cherry, not made of cherry. So cherry কোথায় ছিল? Product finish এ ছিল. So product finish লাগবে, the products themselves, we need them. Where will we find it? In the product table. In the product table, we'll find both the product and the product finish. So first we need to figure out which table, the product table. From there, what is it that we want? We want the products. So description, product finish. Product description gives us the product name, and the product finish gives us the what is it made of, basically, all right? And the condition, where product finish not equal to cherry, because it says isn't made of cherry. Very simple and straightforward, all right? Now, let's try something from the pub schema. Before we try it, this is straightforward, right? I mean, like, this makes sense. Any questions so far?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So let's try something then, because it's pretty simple. I'm hoping that you guys will be able to solve this. Acha.
ম্যাম আমার একটা কোশ্চেন ছিল
বলো।
ম্যাম আমরা যে এই কোয়েরি দিয়ে এভারেজ গুলো বের করলাম ওখানে তো একটা টেবিল ক্রিয়েট হলো তো ওই টেবিলটা কোথায় স্টোর হয়
The result table.
ইয়েস ম্যাম রেজাল্ট টেবিল
কোথাও স্টোর হয় না। ওই রেজাল্ট টেবিলটাকে তোমাকে দেখানোর পরে it will be destroyed. It's an intermediate table, temporary, just to show display the result to you. That is why we're talking about base tables. Base tables are permanent until you give the command to drop them. Yeah.
So, ma'am, is there a way to actually make them permanent?
The result table.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Of course, there's
Like
a way to make
create
everything
table
permanent. But why would you do that? Why should you do that? We don't want to do that. The point of relational data structure is to remove duplication, get rid of duplication, so that you don't have to worry about data integrity. See here, you're dealing with tables of 8 rows, 10 rows, 15 rows at max. Think about what happens when you have a couple of zeros added to the right of them. When you have to deal with thousands of rows, you don't want duplicate data then, trust me. একটা জায়গায় problem হবে, figuring that out will be a nightmare. Transaction issues, কোনো জায়গায় ঝামেলা হলে, it's a nightmare. So the data integrity rule, you need to go by that. Do we sometimes break that rule? Yes, we do, actually. All right. In some cases, যে value গুলো অনেক বেশি, যেমন কি derived attribute কিন্তু টেবিলে স্টোর করার নিয়ম নেই রিলেশনাল ডেটা স্ট্রাকচারে, তাই না? derived attribute তো আমরা রাখি না। ERD তে যে derived attribute যে জিনিসটা আছে ওটাকে রিলেশনাল স্কিমাতে রাখি বা টেবিলে রাখি না, that goes against relational data structure rules, তাই না? But actually, in some cases, you will find that in your practical life scenario that কোনো একটা query যদি অনেক বারবার হিট করা হয়, that is একটা calculation বারবার কল করা হচ্ছে. Let's say, for example, something like the GPA in a certain semester. ঠিক আছে, যেটা খুব ঘন ঘন চেঞ্জ হবে এমন কোনো কিছু না, or the grade of a certain course. ঠিক আছে, এরকম হতেই পারে. I'm not recommending that you do something like that in the project. I'm just giving you an example. এরকম সিনারিও তোমার হতেই পারে যে তোমার একটা কোর্সের গ্রেড বারবার কল করা হয়, কিন্তু গ্রেড পয়েন্ট যেটা একটা সিঙ্গেল কোর্সের গ্রেড পয়েন্টটা তো একটা ডিরাইভড অ্যাট্রিবিউট, এটা তো স্টোর করার কথা না, এটা ক্যালকুলেটেড ভ্যালু। একটা কোর্সের একটা কোর্সের গ্রেড যদি কেউ জানতে চায়, ওই গ্রেডটা তো আইডিয়ালি এসকিউএল ফাংশনস অ্যাপ্লাই করে, এসকিউএল কমান্ড এক্সিকিউট করে দেন ওটা ক্যালকুলেট করে রিটার্ন করার কথা। বাট হতেই পারে এমন যে ওই স্পেসিফিক কলটা এতবার হিট হয় ডেইলি যে বারবার যদি আমরা ক্যালকুলেট করতে যাই তখন হচ্ছে কি অ্যাকচুয়ালি স্পিড আরো ডিক্রিজ করবে। If that is the case, sometimes we do bend the rule a little bit and then we do keep records of these derived tables as well, মানে result tables যেখানে হচ্ছে গিয়ে calculated values আছে। সো ফার আমরা যা যা রেজাল্ট দেখেছি সবগুলো তো ক্যালকুলেটেড ভ্যালুস, তাই না? সো ক্যালকুলেটেড অর সামহাউ কম্পিউটেড ভ্যালুস, এই কম্পিউটেড ভ্যালু মাঝে মধ্যে আমরা রেকর্ড গুলো রাখি যখন হচ্ছে অনেক বেশি হিট পড়ে ওই কোয়েরিটাতে, ঠিক আছে? আর ক্যালকুলেশনটা অনেক কমপ্লেক্স, দ্যাট ইজ মাল্টিপল টেবল জয়েন করে হাবিজাবি অনেক অপারেশন করতে হবে, ইটস ভেরি কমপ্লেক্স, এন্ড ওটা বারবার হিট করা হচ্ছে, ঠিক আছে? সো তখন মাঝে মধ্যে আমরা হচ্ছে গিয়ে এটা স্টোর করে রাখি। ওই স্টোর করে রাখতে হচ্ছে গিয়ে মাল্টিপল অল্টারনেটিভ আছে। ফার্স্ট আমরা ট্রাই করি জাস্ট কমান্ডটা স্টোর করে রাখবো, ঠিক আছে? পুরো টেবিলটা স্টোর করার দরকার নেই, দ্যাট ইজ পুরো টেবিলের ডেটাটা কপি করে রাখার দরকার নেই, কারণ কি এভরি টাইম দ্য বেস টেবল চেঞ্জেস ইউ হ্যাভ টু আপডেট দ্য কপি টেবল অ্যাজ ওয়েল। সো এইসব ঝামেলা আছে। সো পুরো টেবিলটা কপি না করে জাস্ট কমান্ডটা কপি করবো। জাস্ট কমান্ডটা ধরে নাও একটা ভেরিয়েবলের মধ্যে কপি করলাম, যখনই লাগবে আমার কমান্ডটা দ্যাট ইজ বারবার কমান্ডটা লেখা লাগছে না, গেল। এটা একটা হচ্ছে গিয়ে বেসিক ওয়ে। আরেকটা হয় গিয়ে যে কমান্ডটা এক্সিকিউট করতেই অনেক টাইম লাগে, অনেক কমপ্লেক্স একটা কমান্ড, আর ডেইলি লেটস সে you get a million hits on that query. So sometimes we store these things, sometimes we do actually, but you will not find that scenario for your project, let's say, ঠিক আছে? যেগুলো
Madam,
they're simple enough. Yes, did I get
is
disconnected again?
20,000
Right.
rows
Yeah.
not enough for us to start thinking about caching? Or is it just small,
No,
relatively?
depends on the complexity of the command. Depends on how many rows need to be joined, how many tables need to be joined. Depends on the complexity of the command. ঠিক আছে? 20,000
Just
rows.
traversing through 20,000 rows, basically. Let's say
Just
counting.
Traversing through 20,000 rows shouldn't be too difficult if indexing is applied. But remember, when we look at more complex commands, you will quickly find out that join করতে গেলে এই রো গুলো বাড়তে থাকবে, ঠিক আছে? Remember cross join এর সিনারিওটা একটু চিন্তা করে দেখো। সো আমি দুটো টেবিলের মধ্যে যদি ক্রস জয়েন করতে যাই, তাহলে তো আমার নাম্বার অফ রো বেড়ে গেল না রেজাল্ট টেবিলে? তো ওরকম সিনারিও যখন হবে, যে এরকম জয়েন যখন করতে যাব, তখন যদি দেখা যায় যে অনেক কমপ্লেক্স একটা জয়েন, যেটাতে হচ্ছে গিয়ে একটা টেবিলের সাথে একটা টেবিল জয়েন করতে গিয়ে রো বাড়তেই আছে, ঠিক আছে? আমরা যে জয়েন্ট একটু আগে দেখেছি ওটাতে তো কোনো রো বাড়েনি, দ্যাটস আ ভেরি সিম্পল জয়েন অ্যাকচুয়ালি। ইউ উইল লুক অ্যাট মোর কমপ্লেক্স জয়েন্টস। সো তখন কি হচ্ছে গিয়ে ওই যে দ্যাটস ওয়াই ডিপেন্ডস অন দ্য কমপ্লেক্সিটি অফ দ্য কমান্ড। এনিওয়ে উইল টেক আ লুক এট দ্যাট, আমরা ভিউ দেখবো পরে গিয়ে, একদম লাস্টে এসকিউএল এর লাস্ট টপিক যখন আমরা দেখবো তখন হচ্ছে কি আমরা ভিউ দেখবো। সো ভিউ যেটা আমরা হচ্ছে কি যেখানে আমরা জাস্ট কমান্ডটা স্টোর করি। সো ধরো ফর এক্সাম্পল যে ভিউটা আমরা অ্যাকচুয়ালি স্পেসিফিক্যালি দেখবো, ধরো একটা স্টোরে, স্বপ্ন টাইপের একটা স্টোরে অর্ডার রিসিট প্রিন্ট করার জন্য যে কমান্ডটা লাগে, ওই ধরনের একটা কমান্ড আমরা দেখবো। চিন্তা করো স্বপ্নের মতো একটা স্টোরে ডেইলি কতজন কাস্টমার যায় সবগুলো স্টোরে, তো ওদের ডেটাবেসে কতগুলো হিট পড়ে একটা অর্ডার রিসিট প্রিপেয়ার করার জন্য, রাইট? সো এইটার জন্য হচ্ছে গিয়ে আমরা একটা কমান্ড দেখবো, যে একটা মেথড দেখবো যেভাবে হচ্ছে কমান্ডটা স্টোর করে রাখা যায়। এরকম কেসে মাঝে মধ্যে if the data doesn't change too frequently, sometimes we store the table along with the data, that is copy of data রেখে দিই, ক্যালকুলেটেড যদিও তবুও তো কপি বলা যায়, তো ওটা রেখে দিই if the data doesn't change too frequently। কেন ডেটা চেঞ্জের কথা বারবার বলছি? ধরো একটা কোর্সের গ্রেড লেস লাইকলি টু চেঞ্জ, সো ধরো কোর্সের গ্রেডের উপর বারবার হিট পড়ছে, অথবা লেটস সে জিপিএ, সেমেস্টারের আলাদা জিপিএ যেটা, ওটার উপর বারবার হিট পড়ছে, ওটা তুমি ক্যালকুলেট করে রেখে দিলা, that is not as bad as storing the CGPA. Can anyone tell me why that is?
CGPA changes every semester.
That's right. Precisely that. CGPA changes every single semester. For sure. That's a mandatory change. GPA most likely won't change. Course grade will change less frequently, much less frequently. So if need be, যদি খুবই দরকার হয়, খুবই দরকার, যদি দেখি যে স্পিড অ্যাকচুয়ালি ইমপ্রুভ করে এটা স্টোর করতে গিয়ে, তখন আমরা এটা স্টোর করতে পারি, ঠিক আছে? বাট আমরা কেন অ্যাভয়েড করি? কারণ কি আমাদের বেস টেবিল আপডেট হলে এই টেবিলগুলোকে আপডেট করতে হয়। ইফ ইউ ফরগেট ইউ লুজ ডেটা ইন্টিগ্রিটি। কোনো একটা জায়গায় যদি ছোটখাটো চেঞ্জ হয় তুমি ভুলে যাও, দ্যাট উইল মেস এভরিথিং আপ। সো এই জিনিসগুলো মাথায় রাখার জন্য হচ্ছে গিয়ে আমরা সবসময় ট্রাই করি ডুপ্লিকেট অ্যাভয়েড করতে বা কপি অ্যাভয়েড করতে। বাট যদি করাই লাগে তাহলে আমরা যেই ভ্যালুগুলো রেগুলারলি চেঞ্জ হয় না ওইসব ক্ষেত্রে আমরা করতে পারি, ঠিক আছে? রাইট, আচ্ছা, মোর অন দ্যাট লেটার। আমরা কমপ্লেক্স টপিকগুলো নিয়ে আরো পরে কমপ্লেক্স টপিক যখন আসবে তখন কথা বলবো। লেটস গেট ব্যাক টু আওয়ার হাম্বল সিম্পল টপিক অফ ক্যালকুলেটিং থিংস উইদিন আ সার্টেন রেঞ্জ, ঠিক আছে? ওকে, একটা কমান্ড চিন্তা করছিলাম, তাই না, পাবস টিভির জন্য। So this is our pub schema. Once again, please consult with the pub schema. And I'm just giving you the command. Right. Right. If we want to see this, a list of all stores outside of Australia and America. Right. So what do we need to do? Think about that. All stores outside of Australia and America. You guys will solve this. First আমরা কোনটা কাজ করি? First আমরা from এর কাজ করি, ঠিক আছে? From এর কাজটা আমরা first করব. From which table? We want to see a list of all stores outside of these two countries. First we need to figure out from which table.
TVL store.
TBL store. Very good. Because in TBL store we have the store and the country. See here. The store and the country it belongs to. Both of them are here. In TBL store, you see that store details to ache, and at the end you have country. Which country it belongs to as well is there. So here we'll have to use from store. Either use TBL store or use store_t. Both of them are acceptable. ঠিক আছে? In the exam, I mean. TBL store. Hello. Right? And then what? From TBL store, what is it that we want to see, and are there any conditions? Are there any conditions?
Where country not
equal to Australia and America.
বেসিক্যালি কি দুবার লিখতে হবে না? কান্ট্রি নট ইকুয়ালস টু অস্ট্রেলিয়া এন্ড কান্ট্রি নট ইকুয়ালস টু আমেরিকা।
Yes, but you have to tell me that. I don't know that for sure. I know whatever you tell me. So country
Miss
not.
and the capital হবে।
Or
That's right. Once again, this will work. The keyword, even if it's in lowercase, it will work because SQL is not case sensitive for sure when it comes to their own keywords. All right. But yeah, you should write it in all caps for sure. In the exam as well, এই জিনিসগুলো all caps এ রাখবা. All right. Otherwise, it's very easy to ignore and you might end up losing score. Acha. Anything else?
We need to select all. Select star. And the table name. What was the table name again?
We have included the table name. TBL store dite pari othoba store_t. Both of them are acceptable. However, is this all right?
Quotations.
That's right. We've forgotten the quotation. So that has to be there. Okay, let's try this. Let's see if this works. Of course, it won't work because the table name is different. We are going to have to change the table name. In the exam, you don't have to. If you use the one that's directly given in the schema, that's fine. How is it written? Store_. Even that won't work. That's right then. There you go. However, this is not the result that we were looking for actually.
Yeah, it's USA.
List of stores. That's all we wanted. ঠিক আছে? So আরেকটু আমাদেরকে এই জায়গাগুলোতে ফিল্টার করে রেজাল্টটা দিতে হবে, ঠিক আছে? সিলেক্টিং all.
Select Yeah.
Okay.
We should do the store name.
Yeah, so we can do that, sure. So store underscore name. Yeah. So yeah, that will work. Maximum what we can do is, along with this, we can display the country just to see that, okay, what we wanted, we got that.
But like
Maximum.
আমাদের ওই আমেরিকার জায়গায় ইউএসএ করে দিতে হবে probably.
No, it's fine.
That's
Got
better.
it. মানে ইউএসএ আমেরিকা দোনোটাই তো অ্যাকসেপ্ট করেছে। আই থিংক টেবিলে কোথাও হচ্ছে কি ইউএসএ আমেরিকা দোনোটাই দিয়ে দেওয়া আছে। নো, ইউ ডোন্ট হ্যাভ টু ওয়ারি অ্যাবাউট দ্যাট। ইউএসএ আমেরিকা করতে হচ্ছে কিনা তোমাকে হচ্ছে কি দেখতে হবে what the query is looking for. What the query is looking for, you give it that. ঠিক আছে?
Oh, okay.
এখন ইউজার তোমার থেকে চাচ্ছে আমেরিকা এন্ড অস্ট্রেলিয়া, তুমি অস্ট্রেলিয়া আর আমেরিকায় দিবা। এটা যদি নাল রিটার্ন করে তো নাল রিটার্ন করবে সিম্পলি। Whatever the user is asking for, you will return that. ঠিক আছে? So Australia user দিয়েছে, America user দিয়েছে, you will just use that specifically, all right? As simple as
ম্যাম
that.
এখানে কি অর হওয়ার কথা না? আমেরিকা আর অস্ট্রেলিয়া?
That's right. Very good. Yeah. It. No.
No, it should be and.
Yeah, it
কোশ্চেনে
should be
এন্ড
and.
বলেই দিছে।
না কোয়েশ্চেনে and বলে দিয়েছে, তার থেকে বেশি হচ্ছে গিয়ে কান্ট্রি কোথায় না।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা।
ঠিক আছে? So it's not that country has to be Australia and America at the same time. Right?
Australia হতে পারবে না
So,
and America হতে
so
পারবে না।
you're getting confused here because of the not equal to. ঠিক আছে? এখানে কিন্তু কোয়েরিটা কি ছিল, ট্রাই টু রিমেম্বার দ্যাট। কোয়েরিটা ছিল হচ্ছে কি অল স্টোরস আউটসাইড অফ অস্ট্রেলিয়া এন্ড আমেরিকা। আউটসাইড অফ অস্ট্রেলিয়া এন্ড আমেরিকা মানে কি কান্ট্রি অস্ট্রেলিয়া অথবা আমেরিকা হতে পারবে না। ঠিক আছে? তো আমরা যদি এখানে অর ইউজ করতাম তাহলে কি হতো একটু চিন্তা করে দেখো তো। অর ইউজ করলে
সবকিছু এসে যেত।
যেই জায়গাটায় হচ্ছে কান্ট্রি ইজ নট ইকুয়াল টু অস্ট্রেলিয়া সাথে সাথে ট্রু হয়ে গেল। ইভেন ইফ ইটস আমেরিকা ইটস ট্রু। যেই জায়গাটায় হচ্ছে গিয়ে নট equals to America, সাথে সাথে true হয়ে গেল। So that actually is problematic, all right?
Okay.
Ma'am, could you just write or let us see?
Sure. Still returns the same thing. Okay, let's see. এই জায়গাটায় আমাদের টেবিলটা দেখি। Okay, so it's all of them are just USA. So that's okay. Oh, I'm not sharing this tab, am I? Okay. Okay, right. So here, basically, actually, the table doesn't have enough variations to see this. But if we were to use or here, আমাদের কি যেন ছিল store name. What we were talking about is that it would return everything. It does return everything, but we don't see that. Acha, let's try with something else. Let's try this with state, okay? So we want, let's say, only these two, okay? So not equal CWA and not equal CA. Sorry, state didn't change. There you go. That works, all right? Now, if instead of this, if we were to use or, all of them are returned. Do you see now why that's a problem?
Because all the time, at least one of them will be true.
Exactly, that's right. All right? আরেকবার হচ্ছে কি আমরা actually পুরো টেবিলটা দেখি। So what's going on here is, this is our table, right? This is our store table. So store table এ আমরা স্টেটের বেসিসে দেখছি আর কি, just to make it clear, কারণ কান্ট্রি যে ভ্যালুটা আছে ওটার বেসিসে হচ্ছে কি তোমাদের ক্লিয়ার হবে না, বিকজ কান্ট্রিতে একটাই ভ্যালু আছে, অলরাইট? সো স্টেটে তো আমাদের তিনটা ডিফারেন্ট ভ্যালু আছে। লেটস সে ফর এক্সাম্পল we want to see all the stores outside of WA and CA, alright? So for all the stores outside of WA and CA. So এইখানে যদি আমরা or use করি, or use করলে কি হচ্ছে, the moment it's not WA, it becomes true. So this is acceptable, this is acceptable, this is acceptable. Although আমাদের একটা condition আছে not CA, it's still acceptable because the first part যেটা ওটা true হলে হয়ে যাচ্ছে। আবার second part যেটা not CA যেটা ওটার জন্য এই রোটা true. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it clear, everyone, why OR doesn't work in this case? If it's not, then we can go ahead again, all right? এই জিনিসগুলো কিন্তু you need to be clear on these things, okay? So here, see here, the problem with this command is that if we were to go with this, or দিয়ে যদি যেতাম তাহলে কি প্রবলেমটা? or দিয়ে গেলে এই যে এই কন্ডিশনটা দেখো, for which rows is this condition true? For which rows? এই কন্ডিশনটা true কোন কোন রো এর জন্য? The second row, the third row, right? For these two rows it's true. And then
Yes, ma'am.
the last two rows, তাই না? The last two rows as well, this is true. Notice that second or third row and the fifth row, these three rows are not supposed to be returned. But for these three rows, the condition is true because it is not equal to WA for these three rows. So it will be returned. Now, for which rows is this true? The first row. Then also the fourth row. Are we supposed to return these two rows? Guys, এই দুটো রো কি রিটার্ন করার কথা? State is equal to WA. Look at the first condition. Are we supposed to return these two rows? No. But
No.
because of this OR condition, these two rows will also be returned. কেন? কারণ কি এই কন্ডিশনটার জন্য, সেকেন্ড কন্ডিশনটার জন্য তো এই দুটো রো হচ্ছে গিয়ে ট্রু। ঠিক আছে? These two rows will be in fact returned, all right? Because we have used OR. So a OR AND, while it's very simple and straightforward, as long as you're using equals, the moment you use not equal to, you have to think logically and very carefully. It's not equal to, outside of WA and outside of CA. Not just because query te and বলে দেয়া আছে এটা কিন্তু না। If you just focus on that, ওটাতেও কিন্তু তোমাদের ভুল হতে পারে। The query could be misleading sometimes, and the query will be written in such a manner that it will mislead you until or unless you think carefully and logically, all right? So just and বলে দেয়া আছে এই জন্য না, আমাদেরকে চিন্তা করতে হবে যে কন্ডিশনগুলো কিভাবে কাজ করছে। আমি যদি or ইউজ করি, or মানে কি আইদার এটা অথবা এটা, যে কোনো একটা ট্রু হলেই হবে, যে কোনো একটা অথবা বোথ ট্রু হলেই হবে। সো শুধুমাত্র এটা ট্রু হলেই চলছে এরকম কয়টা রো আছে? সেকেন্ড, থার্ড অ্যান্ড ফিফথ, সিক্সথ, এই চারটা রো। সো এই চারটা রো রেজাল্টে রিটার্ন করা হবে অ্যাকচুয়ালি, বাট আমরা কিন্তু সেকেন্ড, থার্ড রো অ্যান্ড ফিফথ রো এগুলোকে চাচ্ছি না। These are stores in CA. We want stores outside of CA. All right. Then a second condition, state not equal to CA. Based on this condition, the first row satisfies this condition. The fourth row satisfies this condition. But these two rows, the first row and the fourth rows, were not supposed to be returned because these are stores in WA. We want stores outside of WA. So that's why it won't work. এই ক্ষেত্রে আমাদেরকে ইউজ করতে হবে and. We have to think about these things beforehand. Our রেজাল্টটাকে একটু ফিল্টার করতে হবে, ঠিক আছে? So return just the store name, right? Or max country সহ রিটার্ন করতে পারো, right? There you go. This will give us the right result. Or not country, in this case state, sorry. Yeah. This will give us the right result. This would return everything. Okay, clear everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so here actually it should be store underscore name. Cool. Okay, let's move on then. Boolean operators, I don't think we need to talk much about it. We've already used them, and or not. But one thing that we need to address nonetheless is the priority of the operators, not and or. First not will be executed, then and, then or. Why is it important? Because very quickly your query could mean something else and could execute something else other than what was intended. For example, here, we want to display the product name, the product finish, the standard price for all desks and tables that cost more than $300 in the product table. কি বুঝাচ্ছে এখানে? All desks and tables that cost more than $300 in the product table. Product table এ যে desk table এর price $300 এর বেশি, ওগুলো আমরা রিটার্ন করতে যাচ্ছি। Now, take a look at this query on the other hand. What is this going to return? From the product table, fine, but take a careful look at the where clause. Where clause কি হচ্ছে? Product description like desk or product description like table and product standard price greater than 300. So what's going to happen here first? Or execute হবে নাকি and execute হবে? And because priority of order এর ক্ষেত্রে and comes first. And comes before or, remember. When multiple Boolean operators are going to be there, if you have not and or combined together, not will be executed first, then and then or. এখানে we have and or in the same condition, in the same group of conditions. দোনোটা আছে, and আছে orও আছে. So and will be executed first, priority অনুযায়ী. So actually, where clause এর সাথে তুমি যদি product description like a desk দিয়ে রাখো, এই clauseটাই বা এই conditionটা যে সে first check করবে, that's not going to happen necessarily. That depends on whether there is an and clause coming later. Since and clause আছে, and conditionটা কার মধ্যে আছে? This and is
table and standard price.
That's
like table
right.
and standard price.
Like table and standard price. So এই দুটার উপরে আমার conditionটা first apply করা হবে. We will combine these two conditions first because and will be executed first. So where clause এর সাথে first taking them product description like desk. We stated that first, but that will in fact not be executed first. First আমরা execute করব এই দুটা conditioner combination because and comes first. So first আমি দেখব which are the rows where product description is like table and standard price is greater than 300. That is this here. A common zone আমি first বের করব, where the product descriptions are tables and standard price is greater than 300. যে product গুলোর description হচ্ছে গিয়ে table আর যে product গুলোর standard price greater than 300, ওটার common zoneটা বের করব। এখানে আমি and actually apply করছি। And then comes or desk. So এইটা পুরাটা execute করার পরে and পুরাটা execute করার পরে আমি এই রেজাল্টটা পেলাম, এই common zoneটা পেলাম। Or product description like desk. So finally আমার conditionটা কি বলছে আমাকে? The product has to be either a desk or a table that is priced at greater than $300. So conditionটা কি বলছে? The product has to be either a desk or it has to be a table which is priced at greater than $300. Is that what we were looking for? No, that's not what we were looking for. We were looking for this. This is what we were looking for. Desks and tables which are priced at greater than 300. Desks and tables which are priced at greater than 300. That's what we were looking for. This is what we will get.
So we just use parentheses.
As simple as that. Simple solution. We just use parentheses. Parentheses use করে যেটা আগে execute করতে যাচ্ছি ওটা আলাদা করে নিব। So we want to do this first. That is orটা আগে যাচ্ছি and পরে হোক। So or যেহেতু আগে করতে যাচ্ছি আমার parentheses use করতে হবে। Otherwise and will be executed first. So or যদি আমি আগে execute করতে যাই তাহলে আমি parentheses use করলাম, তাহলে কি হচ্ছে? First I am selecting those rows where the product description value is either similar to desk or similar to table. So I'll get this. Or কিন্তু or যেহেতু সবগুলো পাবো, ঠিক আছে? All of them will be included, not just the common section, all of them. Or কিন্তু, ঠিক আছে? I'll get this, desk or table. And then I will combine this with standard price greater than 300. And hence then I'll get this, which is what we were originally looking for. Right? Now then, how does like work? Let's talk about that. Like is another SQL keyword, as you can see. So like হচ্ছে গিয়ে যেটা করবে, it will look for this value within the product description value. That is product description এর মধ্যে desk কথাটা আছে কিনা সেটা দেখবে। আগে percentage দিয়ে দেওয়ার রিজনটা কি? It will look for desk at the end. It will look for product description values that end with desk. It will look for product description values that end with table. শেষে টেবিল আছে বা শেষে ডেস্ক আছে।
Basically regular expressions.
That's right. Regex এর মতো কাজ করে, ঠিক আছে? So if this were the case, what would happen then? What would it look for?
Descriptions starting with desk.
Descriptions that start with desk, as simple as that. And for this, descriptions where desk is in the middle, right? As simple as that. So that's how like works.
Ma'am, percentage দুই সাইডে থাকলে there can be empty as well, right? Like there can be nothing before desk. Will that also be true?
Yeah. As long as it's there. Okay. Right then. Okay. So some other keywords like between. We already have a solution for these scenarios actually. Let's say, for example, we want to see all the products from the product table which are priced between 200 and 300. Between 200 and 300. Inclusive, all right? Between 200 and 300, inclusive of 200 and 300. So আমরা এটা কিভাবে করতে পারি? আমরা গ্রেটার দেন আর লেস দেন যেগুলো আমরা কম্প্যারিজন অপারেটরস সো ফার ইউজ করেছি ওগুলো ইউজ করতে পারি। প্রোডাক্ট টেবল থেকে যেই প্রোডাক্টগুলোর স্ট্যান্ডার্ড প্রাইস গ্রেটার দেন 199 and less than 301 ওগুলোকে সিলেক্ট করব। So between 200 and 300 পেয়ে যাচ্ছি। Or another SQL keyword that we can use is between itself, all right? Between itself is an SQL keyword, all right? And it's inclusive. The thing to remember is that it's inclusive. Greater than less than এর ক্ষেত্রে inclusive করার জন্য either এক ভ্যালু কমায় বাড়াতে হয় অথবা greater than equal to less than equal to use করতে হয়। Another way to work around this is to do greater than equal 200 or less than equal 300. That's also something that you can do, all right? To make it inclusive.
301 is risky, is it not? If it's like float values.
Yeah, good point. Yes, that is risky if it's a float value. Very good point. So we are doing this assuming that there are no floats. But if there are floats, you are very much correct. That would be an issue. So in that case, this perhaps would be safer. Right? Yeah, we know how that works, sure. But between is there as well. And between is inclusive, by the way. Between 200 and 300, right? Yellow. And then in, not in. How does that work? We already know about the in keyword from the in that we used, in keyword that we used in the check constraint. Remember, we used a check constraint. Check constraint আমরা in use করেছিলাম. This is exactly the same. We want to list all customers who live in warmer states. Let's say the warmer states are Florida, Texas, California, and Hawaii, all right? So FLTXCH, I mean. So simply customer state in this list. এটা যদি আমি এভাবে না করতাম তাহলে আমার কি করা লাগতো? আমি যদি in clause-টা ইউজ করতে না পারতাম, in that case, what would I have to do? Does anyone have an idea?
This number or the
Or yeah.
Equal use করতে হতো, right? Every time I'd have to use equals and I'd have to keep repeating it, which is completely inefficient. Or customer state equals tx and so on. এভাবে করে continue করা লাগতো, all right? So or you'd have to do something like this. Right? See how long that makes it. So much better whenever you have groups of things where you need to look for values, right? Or let's say, for example, multiple ors and equals combined যখন হবে তখন হচ্ছে কি আমরা in use করব, ঠিক আছে? To make it simpler and to make it smarter, all right? So that's what we'll do here. We want to look for all the customers in the warmer states. So instead of doing customer state equal FL or customer state equal TX or customer equals state equal CA and so on, we'll do an in. Oh, I didn't use the in here. So customer state in this value. So how in works is that in এর পরে আমি যে parenthesis এর মধ্যে যে লিস্টটা পাঠাবো list of values ওই ভ্যালুগুলোর মধ্যে কাস্টমার স্টেটের ভ্যালুটা আছে কিনা চেক করে রেজাল্টে রিটার্ন করবে। যেই রোতে কাস্টমার স্টেটের ভ্যালু is a value from this list, এই চারটার যে কোনো একটা যদি হয়ে থাকে তাহলে ওই রো এর কাস্টমার নেম, কাস্টমার সিটি এন্ড কাস্টমার স্টেট রিটার্ন করবে, রাইট? And then for the customers who do not live in warmer states, simply in এর জায়গায় আমি not in use করব। So basically, let's say here, an easier way to do this would be what? Instead of doing this, and in that process we avoid a world of pain, what we could do is state
Not in.
Then what? Not in
parentheses start,
parenthesis.
W,
Very good.
quotation, WA, comma, quotation, CA.
কোনো কনফিউশন নাই, very simple and straightforward. Or and not equal হাবি জাবির কোনো কনফিউশনই নেই, simply execute it and there you go. Easier command, simpler command, less prone to error. So in not in, that's how it works. Okay, so let's try another one with in, shall we? We want to select the titles or the books from these genre. Once again, take a look at the pub schema. What we want is a list of books that are from the fiction, thriller, fantasy, and philosophy genre or type, whatever that is here.
TBL titles.
কোন টেবিলে যাব? TBL titles এ। That's right. Why? Because TBL titles এ আমার title ID, title name ও আছে plus
type আছে।
type আছে। That's right. Type এখানে আছে। So we have to go to TBL titles. So here we will go for TBL titles, whatever that is. Or you could also go with title underscore T. And that's all. Right. And then what is the condition then? What about the condition?
Where type not in.
Not in. Are you sure?
Sorry,
in. That's right. In.
Parenthesis. Quotation, fiction.
And so on, basically.
Yes.
Fiction, thriller, fantasy, and philosophy. Right then. And we want to return the titles, right? So let's say title underscore name. That's how it's written, right? Title underscore, yeah, that's right. Okay, there you go. Title underscore name. There you go. Okay. The order by clause then. So when we return a list of things, it's also possible to order by a certain value All right. So let's say, for example, here we want to see a list of the customers from the customer table, and we want to see their name, city, and state. So list the customer, city, and state for all customers in the customer table. Fine. That's fine. However, we want them arranged in a certain manner. Arranged in a certain manner. In that case, we have to use the order by clause. যদি কোনো একটা certain way তে arrange করা চাই. So see here, if we were to execute only this command, only this much here, so it would come in a random order, not predefined, not something that we are controlling. However, in the query, it specifically says that in the result, the customers should be arranged alphabetically by state. And alphabetically within each state. First, they should be alphabetically arranged by state. First by state. And then within each state, for the same states, the customers should be alphabetically arranged based on customer name. All right? So first, we need to alphabetically organize them by state. And then within state, that is for the customers with the same state value, we need to once again organize them based on customer name. Okay? এটা তো actually এখানে করা নেই result. If you take a look at the result, that's not how it's done here, because we didn't tell the DBMS to do that. DBMS already যে default orderটাতে store করা আছে in the table, যেভাবে enter করা হয়েছিল, যেভাবে insert করা হয়েছিল, আর যেভাবে indexটা আছে, ওভাবে করে হচ্ছে কি রেজাল্টটা রিটার্ন করেছে। বাট আমরা যদি কোনো স্পেসিফিক অর্ডার চাই, then we need to use the order by clause. First we wanted the customer state ছিল, right? So customer state অনুযায়ী হচ্ছে কি আমরা ফার্স্টে চেয়েছিলাম arrange হতো, and for the same customer state, first let's see customer state অনুযায়ী arrange হলে কি হয়. This is what we get. See rearranged and alphabetically by customer state. See here, if you take a look at the customer state, it's now reorganized based on customer state value. Now, for the same customer state values, the rows which have the same customer state value, for example, this one, these 3 rows, here we would want them to be organized alphabetically once again based on customer name value. The rows which have the same customer state value. So see ekhane, both of these rows have the same customer state value. Ekhane customer name, based on the query, California Classic should be first. So alphabetically again. So first আমি চাচ্ছি customer state এর উপরে, এরপরে for the same customer state values, then we want customer name এর উপরে organized হবে. So there customer state এর পরে গিয়ে আমি customer name list করব. There you go. Rearranged. এটা কিন্তু এই অর্ডারটা চেঞ্জ করলে কিন্তু হবে না. If you were to place this first and then the customer state next, it wouldn't work the same way. একইভাবে কাজ করতো না. There you go. It wouldn't work the same way because it would execute the ordering based on name first and then state in that case. But we want the state first and then name. So state has to be listed first, then name in order by. Another way it works is we listed by number and the number of the position in the select clause. Customer state অনুযায়ী ফার্স্টে অর্ডার করতে যাচ্ছি, অর্গানাইজ করতে যাচ্ছি। সিলেক্ট ক্লসে কাস্টমার স্টেট কোন পজিশনে আছে? 1 2 3. Which position is customer state? Third position. So order by 3. In that case, customer name is, what do we put?
1.
1.
That's right. And that would work. There you go. Works. Okay. Clear, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Right then. So some more examples using the UniDB case should be straightforward. You can take a look at it. So if you wanted to list the student ID, name, department for all students, fine, do that. Simply student table থেকে STID, ST name, depth code, তিনটা নিয়ে আসবো. But then we want the students to be alphabetically arranged based on department. Department অনুযায়ী alphabetically arranged যাচ্ছি. So order by depth code. And for the same department, alphabetically arranged by student name. So depth code, student name. Dep code is in the third position, so you can also do order by 3, and st name is in the second position, so 3, 2, right? Also, when there are a lot of rows in the result, you can use the limit clause. So the limit clause, if used with the order by clause, what it does is it will show a certain number of the first few rows. For example, here, order by 3, 1, limit 5 will return what? Only the first 5 rows. Say here, in this case, for example, if here we were to include the limit clause, limit by 5. So in that case, see here, only the first 5 rows. Previously, look at the number of the 15 rows were returned. But if you were to include the limit clause, limit 5, what it would do is return only the first 5 rows. Only the first 5 rows. So let's say, for example, why is this helpful? Because when you have tables, once again, full of a lot of data that you cannot see in a single page, alright? So paginate কিসের বেসিসে কাজ করে আর কি এই ধরনের আইডিয়াগুলা। So মানে if you want to see a certain number of rows within a certain page, then those ideas stem from here. And once again, we don't use these basic clauses anymore, but to understand the basic foundation of it all. And then limit clause এর আরেকটা ইউসেজ আছে, মেথড যেরকম কি হচ্ছে ওভারলোড করা যায়, সিমিলারলি লিমিট ক্লজ যখন একটা সিঙ্গেল প্যারামিটার পাস করবা, দ্যাট ইজ লিমিট 5 যখন দিব, লিমিট দেন একটা নাম্বার, সিঙ্গেল একটা প্যারামিটার পাস করছি, তখন হচ্ছে গিয়ে ইট উইল রিটার্ন অনলি দ্য ফার্স্ট 5 রোজ। লিমিট 10 হলে ফার্স্ট 10 রোজ, লিমিট 2 হলে ফার্স্ট 2 রোজ, এভাবে কাজ করবে। বাট লিমিটের মধ্যে যদি আমি দুটা ভ্যালু পাস করি, ফর এক্সাম্পল হিয়ার 30,5, it will show 5 rows after skipping the first 30 rows. প্রথম 30টা রো স্কিপ করে এরপরে সে 5টা রো দেখাবে। Make sense? It will skip the first 30 rows. Then it will show the next 5 rows. That is, it will show display starting from row number 31 to row number 35. Row number 31 থেকে 35 পর্যন্ত সে ডিসপ্লে করবে। Here, it's most probably not going to work because we do not have 30 rows to begin with. No rows. There you go. Why? Because remember, in the customer table, in total we had 15 rows. So there aren't even 35 rows or 30 rows to begin with. That's why it doesn't work. However, if we were to do, let's say, skip the first 10 and then show 5, it will show the last 5 rows. Since we have 15 rows in total, it doesn't that work? Yeah, there you go. Since it has 15 rows in total, the first 10 rows are skipped, then 5 rows are displayed. So basically the last 5 rows are displayed here, all right? Right then. So I think I should end the session here. I think you guys are all but spent by now. Group by is comparatively a lot more complex based on the standard of the queries that we have looked at so far. Group by goes into a little bit of more of the complex zone. So let's just end the session here. We'll start with group by on Monday, right? And yeah, I'll see you guys on Monday then. That's all right, guys. Or do you guys want to continue, right?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right. That's all right. So go back to the lecture slides and try out the stuff that we have discussed so far. যা যা ডিসকাস করেছি নিজেরা হচ্ছে কি একটু পাব স্কিমাটা দেখবা, ঠিক আছে? পাব স্কিমাটা দেখে নিজেরা হচ্ছে কি মাল্টিপল কম্বিনেশনস অফ কোয়েরি ট্রাই করে দেখো, কি দেখতে চাচ্ছ ওটা পাচ্ছ কিনা এটা ট্রাই করে দেখো। Basically familiarize yourself with the pub schema. Try these things out for your project as well. Try out things with the UnityB example maybe, অথবা তোমাদের নিজেদের ইয়ারি যেটা বানিয়েছো ওটার বেসিসে তোমরা ট্রাই করতে পারো যে কিভাবে কোয়েরি ইসে করা মানে কম্বাইন করা যায়, এই জিনিসগুলো এখন থেকেই চিন্তা করতে পারো so that you can handle the complex queries better. Please understand and remember that two things are very important in order for you to move forward. So far যা যা বেসিক কনসেপ্টস আমরা যা যা এসকিউএল এ ডিসকাস করেছি সবগুলো বোঝাটা, ঠিক আছে? ওগুলো বোঝার জন্য প্র্যাকটিস করতে হবে। প্র্যাকটিস ইজ ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট। The more you practice, the more you figure out the issues that you have, and the more you clear them out. So practice korte hobe. Practice is very important in SQL to clear things out. And secondly, familiarizing yourself with the syntax, with the schema itself. It's very important, right? So practice. Go through the
Miss,
yes, Sabit bolo.
As projected, do my charts have to be exactly like the ones in the Excel sheet?
No. Absolutely not. The tables, you mean? Oh, the
No,
charts.
the
The output
charts.
charts. Sorry. The output charts, yes. The output charts, they have to be the same. Yeah.
Exactly
Colors
the
could be
same.
different.
I mean,
They
Colors.
won't be exactly the same because errors are coming.
হ্যাঁ অনেক errors হচ্ছে
No,
মানে I can't
exactly the same বলতে আমি কি বোঝাতে চাচ্ছি, along the x-axis, y-axis, the metrics have to be the same. x-axis এ তুমি কি ভ্যারিয়েবল রাখছো, y-axis এ কি ভ্যারিয়েবল রাখছো, এটা তো একই হতে হবে। ঠিক আছে, কোন চার্টটা দেখাচ্ছো, is it an area chart, is it an area chart, is it a pie chart, or is it a line chart? That has to be the same. All right, that cannot be different.
but like the metrics,
the value of the metrics, you mean?
yeah
right? Yeah the metrics themselves, yeah, those could be different. Like you guys have pointed out multiple times, there are some errors. On that note, you guys had some questions and I did take a look at them and figure out the differences, but you guys never asked me or got back to it, and I've forgotten as well. আচ্ছা আমার কি মনে আছে আমি একটু মনে করে দেখি। ব্লক নিয়ে কোন একটা ঝামেলা ছিল, রাইট?
oh no, that's ওটার প্যারা নেই।
আচ্ছা, you guys have figured it out, fine. In case you haven't, ব্লকের ক্ষেত্রে
Boolean.
হচ্ছে গিয়ে মাইনাস বি বা বি যেখানেই আছে ব্লকের ক্ষেত্রে, দ্যাটস ব্লকড, অলরাইট? আর বি ছাড়া যেগুলো আছে 0 1 whatever, it's not blocked. If it's 0, it's not blocked. If it's 1, it's or -1, it's not blocked. If it's b, however, minus b or dash b, 0 comma b, whatever, b থাকলে it's blocked, ধরে নাও। ঠিক আছে এভাবে?
Okay, miss, I have another question. So like to display some of the chart data exactly like the way that's in the Excel sheet, আমার কয়েক জায়গায় static data use করতে হচ্ছে. For example, if you see the class allocation, no, sorry, not class size, or sorry, enrollment allocation charts, ওখানে যেমন 2020 spring, 2021 autumn, এরকম করে।
Open up that sheet.
Okay.
কি data set গুলোর মধ্যে বলছো?
Yeah,
which one was that?
Tara, wait, let me open that up too. 1 second. হ্যাঁ, IUB enrollment class allocation ওই docs এর ভিতরে যেটা ছিল, for example, let's see the first chart, right? ওখানে যেমন 2009 spring, basically the x-axis, ঠিক আছে, যেভাবে ডিসপ্লে করা আছে।
You're talking about tally sheet, right?
No, I'm not talking about the tally sheet. I'm talking about the IUB enrollment class allocation docs, যেটার ভিতরে all the charts are displayed.
Charts, then I was
yes, yeah, I'm talking about the output charts. Yeah.
Right, okay. IUB enrollment class allocation, এখানের মধ্যে কোন specific chartটা ছিল?
Let's see the first chart, like the revenue trend of schools, right? So এখানে যেমন x-axis like all the semesters are given, and we're displaying multiple line graphs, and প্রত্যেকটা point is is different. When একটা graphs is from different schools, আমার যে problem হচ্ছে এখন, it's just that I have to like put in some static data কয়েক জায়গায়, because এভাবে exactly display করাটা from just raw SQL queries is almost impossible. At this very moment, maybe I'll learn later, but is it okay if I use static data in some places?
No, static data
does it have to be completely dynamic?
Yeah, based on whatever is requested. No, you cannot use static data in that case. No, it has to be dynamic. Whenever it's requested, it has to be calculated. However you do it in your program, ultimately report এ তো হচ্ছে কি তুমি যে চার্টটা দিবা, চার্টের underlying SQL তো তোমার লিখে দিতে হবে, and we are going to go through that SQL. So ওই SQL এ গিয়ে যখন আমি দেখবো যে তোমার হচ্ছে গিয়ে যেই কম্পিটিশন গুলো করার কথা ছিল ওই কম্পিটিশন গুলো নেই, then you will lose marks. ঠিক আছে? So ওটা মাথায় রেখে হচ্ছে গিয়ে সেটা করতে হবে। ঠিক আছে?
আচ্ছা, আমি কি এটা করতে পারি? Can I, for example, আমি যে চার্টটা আছে না, I did something similar to it, but I had to like use two different SQLs for like the x-axis and then like line graph-এর জন্য আলাদা, মানে it's not the same, মানে it's not one exact query, ঠিক আছে? It's like, for example, আমি just নিচে query করলাম, just I want all the semester and the years, right? Or the semester plus year names are উপরে আলাদা করে query করলাম, but like it's not one exact SQL query. Will you accept that as well, or will you not accept it?
Individually x-axis এর query আর y-axis এর query করে then chart.js এ পাঠাচ্ছ, হ্যাঁ, that's fine, that's completely fine, that's completely alright. তুমি x-axis এর যে array of data আলাদা query করে পাঠাচ্ছ আর y-axis এর যে array of data আলাদা query করে পাঠাচ্ছ, that's what you're talking about, right? Yeah, of course, that is actually how you should do it, to break it down, to make it simple.
We were supposed to break it down. I thought like একটা query ভিতরে পুরা
No,
data
you
আমি
don't have to do it like
pass
that.
করব, then ভাগ
Absolutely
ভাগ ভাগ
not.
করে
No, that's going to be crazy. You're going to go crazy then. No,
Oh my
you can
God.
combine it. You can combine it with your backend logic. I've talked about this before.
Okay,
Maybe you
okay.
have not.
That's what I was
didn't
trying to
notice.
do. I was trying to do this entire thing in like one single query,
No,
and
you
then
can't do that actually. Anyway, as you move on with more SQL queries, I think these things will be easier to figure out. And also, if you try to do that, it's going to be a mammoth task, and there's no point to it. We don't do it that way anymore. I mean, you can use your backend logic to combine these together. আর ultimately তো আমার chart.js এ পাঠাতেই হচ্ছে ডেটাগুলো, তো হচ্ছে কি আমি আলাদা কোয়েরি করে হচ্ছে কি ডেটাগুলো আলাদা আলাদাভাবে বের করে দেন আমি আমার ব্যাকএন্ড লজিক দিয়ে আমি কম্বাইন করে হচ্ছে কি পাঠাতে পারি, দ্যাটস ফাইন অ্যাজ ওয়েল। তো মানে দিস ইজ নাথিং, এক্স অ্যাক্সিস এর ডেটা আলাদা, ওয়াই অ্যাক্সিস এর ডেটা আলাদা করে তো পাঠাতেই পারো। সাম গ্রুপস প্রিভিয়াসলি হোয়াট দে হ্যাভ ডান ইজ যখন অনেক বেশি কমপ্লেক্স হয়ে যায় কোয়েরি, যেমন কি পরে গিয়ে তোমরা হচ্ছে গিয়ে কেস দেখবা, যেমন কি এসকিউএল এ হচ্ছে কি আমাদের যেরকম কি প্রোগ্রামিং এ ইফ এলস আছে, এসকিউএল এ হচ্ছে কি কেস আছে, ঠিক আছে? বাট as far as I've seen, most groups, if not all, haven't used the case SQL command at all, because it's just so much easier if you use our usual like third or fourth generation programming language instead of SQL. So ওটাও হচ্ছে কি we will allow it, but যেটা করতে হবে রিপোর্টে গিয়ে হচ্ছে কি SQL এর রিপ্রেজেন্টেশনটা রাখতে হবে, ঠিক আছে? এটাই হচ্ছে ইস্যুটা। বাট nonetheless, even there মানে x axis y axis এর ভ্যালুগুলো আলাদা ফেচ করে এনে দেন ইউ ক্যান সেন্ড ইট টু chart.js, রিপোর্টে ওটা দিতে পারো x axis y axis আলাদা, that's completely fine, right?
Okay, Miss. Do you have any other suggestions other than using chart.js?
chart.js, that's the
Or
most.
is it something like, can you show me a chart that you know how to use? Because I'm like kind of lost using chart.js in a bit, so it will like really help us.
The thing is, chart.js is the one that is, as far as I know, most frequently used, all right? So ওই জন্য হচ্ছে কি chart.js এর কথা বলেছি, because it's একটা open source and it's very updated, bugs পাবা না খুব একটা, help community অনেক strong, and এটা সব থেকে frequently used. That's why I recommended chart.js. And in fact আমাদের হচ্ছে কি চার্টটা খুব একটা জেনারেট অ্যাকচুয়ালি করা লাগে না for the stuff that at least I do besides this, but যখনই জেনারেট করা লাগে we use chart.js, because
Miss, if you know how to use chart.js, can you like give me like a little tutorial and maybe explain a bit if you can?
I'll try to find the time for it. And what I can do is first I can send you some links maybe that I used, or maybe better links that have come up, or blogs that have come up, so I can send you those things. And ওখানে গিয়ে at any point if you have any question, what you can do is right away send me an email যে এই পার্টটুকু আমি পারছি না, বা how to work with this, অথবা এই জায়গাটায় error আসছে, বা এই জায়গাটায় this error I can't figure out. You can send me an email, I can try and sort it out every time.
Okay, can you post the links in the classroom? Like if you
the
do?
classroom, sure. I could do that, or I think yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, I could do that. However, if I do forget to post the links, please feel free to send me reminders or multiple reminders via email, right?
Yeah, okay.
All right. Anyone else has any questions? Ar baki kar kono question ache?
Ma'am, there was one thing in the output charts that you said you'd get back to us with.
What was that? Which one was that?
Class size docs.
Class size docs.
That IV available resource table, the red.
Let me try and remember what I found out. I have to remember. I took a look at it quite a while back myself. 1,272.10474. It was consider free. 6 slot. It was this table, right?
Yes, ma'am.
একটু মনে করে দেখতে হবে. I did take a look at the calculation.
How about we exclude a few things here and there?
No. That you cannot do.
Come on.
That if you do, there might just be another group who do execute this, and you will end up losing marks, because if they can't do it, that's going to be the standard for it. So yeah.
Why would we lose marks? Why can't you just give them more marks than us?
That is giving them more marks, no?
Yeah, sure, but when you say you're losing marks, I assume that you're deducting marks.
So when you go to the client, think about what you would say to the client if you cannot reach a certain requirement. So yeah, anyway, let's get back to the topic and not that. For your end, these are the requirements and they must be there, right? No, workaround to that. No. Okay, 1,027.2.107. Okay, consider few percent for 6 slots capacity.
Ma'am, if you remember, then you can I commented on this docs file, and
right,
it should be available in the email as well.
I think the reason I'm taking a look at this is because I'm sure that the other groups have this question as well. All right, let's do one thing. We'll discuss this right at the start of next lecture, and please remind me, one of you guys, এই জিনিসটা ডিসকাস করার জন্য নেক্সট লেকচার শুরুর দিকে, ঠিক আছে? মানডেতে আমাদের যে লেকচারটা হবে, শুরুতে আমাকে একটু মনে করিয়ে দিও যে আমার ক্লাস সাইজের এই জিনিসটা হচ্ছে কি ডিসকাস করার কথা ছিল, ঠিক আছে? So that I don't forget that time, okay?
Okay, miss. And যে টিউটোরিয়ালের জন্য যে আমরা ইমেল করব, ওটা মানে এটা কি কম্বাইন্ড হবে?
কি যেন ছিল?
You said to remind you with an email আমাদের common convenient by type সবার
or feedback, project feedback.
Yes, miss, feedback.
No, that's going to be for each group. It's going to be a separate session. প্রত্যেকটা গ্রুপের আলাদা session হবে. What you can do is you can get your group members together and ask them সবার common free time কোন টাইমে আছে এই উইকে পুরোটাতে. I'm available starting from Sunday, and Mondays, Wednesdays, I'll be available only after 8 p.m. The other days, I'll be available throughout the day, but you'll have to let me know beforehand because I'll have to make adjustments accordingly, right? So আগে থেকে হচ্ছে কি তোমাদের ফ্রি টাইম গুলো বের করে আমাকে কয়েকটা স্লট পাঠিয়ে দিও, ওখান থেকে whoever first come first serve, যে ফার্স্ট ইমেল পাঠাবে তাদের ফার্স্ট বুকিংটা আমি দিব, এভাবে করে হচ্ছে will proceed, all right?
Miss, quick question. So Miss Nuzhat Nahar Miss just posted a comment saying that Amar midterm BPN, the process name is not mentioned. Okay, so my question is process name ki swim lamer naam naki task your naam? The process names?
That's the entire process name. Mane tomar
process laner naam, right?
Yeah, the entire
thing. So why did she say that?
I'm not sure. You're going to talk about that with her, all right?
Did you use Kawimo as well?
Yeah, because I'm
Sabit. I think it's better if you speak with her because I can't see your result. I can't see your copy. She's the one who's going to check your copy, so it's better if you talk to her.
I think he has the same problem as mine, and also many others. Like we use the software Kawimo. Okane, they follow BPMN standard, and according to them, there doesn't have to be a process name to it. So just
tell her that then. Tell her that then.
Yeah.
Simply talk to her and explain that to her.
Okie dokie.
In a polite manner, all right? Okay. All right, then that's all then. Let's end the session here. I'll see you guys on Monday. And please